Chapter 1340. In the distance. As he watched the 10 blood Kirans roar, Longao was scared. The power of the 10 blood Kirans was obvious. Ordinary Nirvana realm martial artists couldn't fight against them. Even in a one-on-one fight, who could fight against the blood Kirans? The ancient battlefield really is extraordinary. Before entering the ancient battlefield, Longao hadn't experienced it for himself. It wasn't until the 10 blood Kirans appeared that Longao realized how scary the ancient battlefield was. If 10 blood Kirans appeared on the Sky Martial continent at the same time, it would cause panic. After all, the power of 10 blood Kirans was terrifying. Even 15 Nirvana realm martial artists might not be able to fight against 10 blood Kirans. Longbow. He let out a long sigh of relief. Longao didn't stop at all because he knew very well that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. Longbow had forcefully left just now, so he must have used some kind of secret technique and divine weapon. If he found Longbow at this time, it would be very easy to kill Longbow. He did as he thought. Longao immediately got up and chased in the direction where Longbow disappeared. If it was an ordinary person, how could they lock onto Longbow's position? However, Longao had a way to lock onto Longbow's position. It was precisely because of this that he had full confidence that he could find Longbow's position. Longfu, do you have a way? Master, I have located Longbow as a precaution. Longao told Longfu that no matter what happened, he had to locate Longbow first. He was overjoyed. Somewhere in the ancient battlefield, Longbow's face was extremely gloomy. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and his face was covered in blood. He had used his space item to escape, which had damaged his foundation. Even so, Longbow was still scared. The power of the 10 blood Kirans was too scary. If Inwei hadn't used his space item, he would have been killed by the blood Kirans. Longao, I won't take revenge. What do you want? Before Longbow could finish his words, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. He looked at Longbow with a cold smile. Just as he had guessed, Longbow must have used a secret technique to forcefully leave. The current Longbow's aura was very unstable. Longao, how did you find me? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't surprised. Longbow never thought that Longao would find him at this time. Could it be that Longao was able to lock onto his position? Even if he was unwilling to believe it, the truth was right in front of him. Longbow had no choice but to believe it. It's too easy to find you. Longbow, you and I are both smart people. There's no need to waste time. Long family and I have a grudge. I believe you're no stranger to it. You entered the primordial battlefield to kill me. Now, I'm giving you a chance to fight with me. If you win, I won't attack you again in the primordial battlefield. What if I lose? When he heard Longao's words, Longbow's face turned even colder. Longbow was very clear in his heart that if it was a normal time, with Longao's strength, it would be impossible for him to put him in his eyes. After all, Longao was just a small earth god martial artist, and he himself was a god emperor martial artist. The gap between god emperor and earth god was too big. The two of them were simply not on the same level. But now, he had forced himself to use his space item to escape from the 10 blood Kirans. He had already hurt himself. Fighting Longao now was the worst thing he could do. If he lost, he would die without a doubt. Longbow, if you lose, I won't kill you. Won't kill him? Longao's words confused Longbow. According to the grudge between Longao and his family, if he had the chance to kill Longbow, wouldn't Longao do it? Regardless of whether other people believed him, Longbow didn't believe him. Do you want to know? Longao smiled when he saw that Longbow wasn't speaking. Longbow, if you lose, I will refine you into a corpse slave. Corpse slave, do you know? Longbow had also heard of Longao's methods. His complexion changed greatly. Longbow sneered and said, Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. This time, when I came in, the old ancestor set up a chi shield around my soul. If you kill me and the old ancestor knows about it, Longbow didn't continue, but his meaning was clear. The old ancestor he was talking about was none other than the Long family's old ancestor, Long Tian. Longao wasn't afraid of Longbow, but he was afraid of Long Tian. No matter what was said, Long Tian's power was obvious. There weren't many people in the martial heaven continent who could fight Long Tian. If what Longbow said was true, then it would be troublesome. Once he dealt with Longbow and Long Tian found out, not to mention Long Tian, even Long Di Tian wouldn't let it go. If he was alone, then it would be fine. Long family wanting to find him in the vast sea of people was like looking for a needle in a sea. Unless he took the initiative to walk out, would he be so stupid? Family. Longao's only worry was his family. If his family's position was discovered by the Long family or the Martial Artists Alliance, then it would be troublesome. Ha ha ha, Longao, are you afraid? Longbow laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with disdain and contempt. In Longbow's opinion, Longao was truly afraid. It seemed that the Long family and the old ancestor could still suppress Longao. If that was the case, then things would be much easier. I'm afraid, I'm really afraid. As soon as Longao's voice fell, the reincarnation doppelganger had already rushed out. Not only that, Longao's figure also disappeared on the spot with the help of space teleportation. One on the left and one on the right. He attacked Longbow fiercely with lightning speed. What was going on? Why were there two Longaos? Seeing this situation, Longbow was dumbfounded. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure out how Longao did it. How could he create another Longao? If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Not daring to be careless, Longbow felt waves of pain coming from his body. Longbow stood up, but before he could shoot out, his body was ruthlessly smashed back. Longbow had overestimated himself and underestimated this spatial divine tool. In the current situation, he couldn't even use 20% of his full strength. What did this mean? At this moment, Longbow was completely flustered. He didn't want to die. However, Longao didn't give him any chance to speak. He came up with the reincarnation clone and started to attack. You punch, I punch. Looking from afar, it was a series of fist shadows. It was hard to tell whether the fist shadows came from Longao or the reincarnation clone. Longbow's foundation had already been damaged. It was already impossible for him to fight back. After being smashed by two Longaos, in just a few seconds, the handsome and extraordinary Longbow had now become a real pig's head. Longao, I'm going to kill you. Longao was also considered shameless. He didn't know if it was intentional or not, but he, who was originally madly smashing, directly kicked out. The strength of this kick could be imagined. It kicked right on Longbow's crotch. A blood-curdling scream was accompanied by a roar of endless anger. Longbow was like a mad lion, madly counterattacking. However, Longbow's defeat was already set. It was almost impossible for him to win. Before entering the primordial battlefield, Longbow was still full of confidence that he could kill Longao with his own strength and show off in front of the old ancestor. Perhaps the old ancestor would be happy and directly promote him to be the head of the Long family. But what was the result? Even if Longbow was beaten to death, he would never have thought that not only did he fail to kill Longao, but he was also beaten up by Longao. If someone told him this in the past, would he believe it? Longbow, you've lost. Longao didn't kill Longbow immediately because he wasn't sure if what Longbow said was true. As the saying went, it was better to believe it than not. If what Longbow said was true, wouldn't he completely fall out with Long Tian? Until now, Longao still didn't know if it was Long Di Tian's idea or Long Tian's idea that Longbow wanted to deal with him. They were two different concepts. Even though he didn't kill Longbow immediately, Longao didn't plan to let him go. He joined forces with the reincarnation doppelganger and punched Longbow repeatedly. Longbow was in so much pain that he howled like a pig being slaughtered. It was a tragedy in the human world. Longbow's tragedy was also a tragedy for the Long family. Longao, just kill me. Just kill me. Longbow's spirit had already collapsed. As the young master of the Long family, the #1 person in the younger generation, and the third on the earth roll, he had never been humiliated like this before. It was simply unbearable. Even if he could endure it, he couldn't endure it. So what if his heart was filled with endless anger? Longbow knew very well that things had already come to this point. Would Longao let him go? It was almost impossible. Rather than that, he might as well die early. That way, The old ancestor would definitely know about this. When the time came, once Longao left the primordial battlefield, the old ancestor and his father would be able to avenge him. Kill you? Since that's what you want, I'll fulfill your wish. Longbow, die. Longao didn't continue hesitating because he could already sense that there were people madly rushing over. If it was the disciples of the other superpowers, then it would be fine. But if it was the disciples of the Long family or the Martial Artists Alliance, then it would be troublesome. If it was really the disciples of the Long family, then wouldn't the news of him killing Longbow spread? Unless it was a last resort, Longao wasn't willing to completely fall out with Long Tian. Therefore, Longao and his reincarnation doppelganger increased their speed. Several figures appeared. Seeing Longao crazily smashing Longbow, they were shocked and roared, "Longao, let go of eldest senior brother." Chapter 1341. Stop? Longao sneered again and again. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Longao was unwilling to let the Long family disciples know that he killed Longbow. However, since things had already reached this point, Longao also knew that he could not avoid it. Since that was the case, why should he continue to hide it? There was no point in doing so. "Longao, you dare." Laughing crazily, Longao's face was full of contempt, as if he was looking at a dozen idiots. Why wouldn't I dare? Again, since things had already reached this point, even if he chose to stop now, he believed that the Long family would not let it go. Since that was the case, why should he be merciful? Gotcha. Longbow no longer had any strength to resist. Longao grabbed his neck and twisted it to the left. Longbow instantly died. He was overjoyed. Longao did not have the slightest trace of politeness and directly encircled Longbow's divine soul and body into the dragon seal space. Long Fu did not hesitate in the slightest and immediately began refining. Longao had already informed Long Fu that once Longbow was killed, Long Fu would refine Longbow into a corpse slave in the shortest time possible. Watching their eldest senior brother being killed, dozens of people's faces suddenly changed. Was this for real? Who was Longbow? Longbow was the young master of the Long family, and also the #1 genius of the Long family. He was highly regarded by the old ancestor. If Longao killed Longbow, and this was known by the Long family, it was easy to imagine what the consequences would be. "Longao, you dare." Before the Long family disciples could say anything, Longao's body had already shot towards the crowd. With the help of spatial teleportation, who could match Longao's speed? No one dared to imagine that after Longao killed their eldest senior brother, he still dared to deal with them. Could it be that Longao ignored the Long family? They didn't dare to stay any longer because they knew Longao's strength. If he could kill their eldest senior brother, there was no need to mention them. They scattered. Everyone was smart enough not to head in one direction. "You want to leave?" Longao sneered. Now that Longbow was dead, these people definitely couldn't leave. Otherwise, if someone successfully left the primordial battlefield, wouldn't their Long family find out? Until now, Longao still didn't quite believe Longbow's words. Tianwu Continent. Long family. In the main hall, Long Tian, Long Di Tian, and Long Heng were discussing family matters. At this moment, Long Tian's expression completely changed. It became extremely cold, and his body emitted an endless amount of killing intent. He was startled. Sensing this killing intent, both Long Di Tian and Long Heng were surprised. They did not know what was going on with the old ancestor. Long Heng and Long Di Tian exchanged glances. In the end, Long Di Tian carefully asked, "Old ancestor, what happened?" Something happened to Longbow. Long Di Tian's expression also changed because he knew that his son had already entered the primordial battlefield. If something happened to Longbow, didn't that mean that his son was already dead? "Old ancestor, could it be Longao?" He shook his head, then nodded. Long Tian also didn't dare to confirm who had killed Longbow. No matter what, he had only set up a barrier in Longbow's soul. He knew that Longbow was dead, but he didn't know who had done it. There are too many dangers in the primordial battlefield. Whether Longbow's death has anything to do with Longao, I don't know. However, Longbow is already dead. Longao. At this point, Long Tian didn't continue because he was very depressed. This time, he had entered the primordial battlefield to borrow Longbo's power to deal with Longao. But what had happened? Hearing the old ancestor's words, Long Tion almost fainted. His son had died, but the old ancestor didn't care at all. Instead, he was concerned about whether Longao would die in the primordial battlefield. If Long Tion wasn't their old ancestor, Long Tion would have already taken action. He was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. Even if he was unhappy, he could only endure it because of the old ancestor's status and strength. Old ancestor, what should we do now? His son was already dead, so it was useless to be sad. As the patriarch of a Long family, Long Tion naturally knew what he should endure and what he shouldn't. Long Tion's expression was very cold. Longbo's sudden death had messed up his overall plan. Just as Long Tion had guessed, Long Tion didn't care about Longbo's life at all. In Long Tion's eyes, the number one genius of a Long family was nothing. The only thing Long Tion cared about was Longao's life and death. If it was in the past, Long Tion definitely wouldn't have wanted Longao to die. This was because in Long Tion's opinion, Longao was just a chess piece for him to reach the peak of martial arts. However, this chess piece no longer listened to his orders. Furthermore, there were too many variables. In order to be safe, Long Tion was prepared to give up this chess piece. Therefore, he thought of all sorts of ways to deal with Longao. As for the primordial battlefield, it was the best opportunity to eliminate Longao. It was precisely because of this that the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance had joined forces and sent many experts into the primordial battlefield. But now, they had just entered the primordial battlefield, and Longbo had died in less than a day. The situation had become very bad. Could the Martial Artists Alliance alone kill Longao? Long Tion didn't have much confidence. If that was the case, what should he do? The biggest problem was that Nirvana Realm warriors couldn't enter the primordial battlefield. After thinking about it, Long Tion suddenly raised his head and looked at the two people in front of him. He said, Tion, Longao must die. It seems like I can only find Tong Zun to think of a way to enter the primordial battlefield. You two protect the family well. Before Long Tion and Long Hang could react, Long Tion's figure had already disappeared without a trace. Only Long Tion and Long Hang were left in the hall. Patriarch, can the old ancestor enter the primordial battlefield? With Long Tion's appearance, the grudge between Long Hang and Long Tion seemed to have disappeared. This was because the two of them knew very well that even if they continued to fight, there was no point. Shaking his head, Long Tion said coldly, I don't know. However, Longbo is dead. I will definitely investigate this matter. No matter who it is, the person who killed my son must pay with his life. Everyone knew that Nirvana Realm warriors couldn't enter the primordial battlefield due to the restrictions. Whether it was Tong Zun or Long Tion, they were both at the pinnacle of the Nirvana Realm. It was impossible for them to enter the primordial battlefield. However, Long Hang knew very well that since the old ancestor said so, it was still unknown whether they could enter the primordial battlefield. As for Longbo's death, Long Hang didn't take it to heart. It didn't concern him. As long as Longao was killed, it was great news for him. As for the rest, it had nothing to do with him. Long Tion did not take this matter to heart. He did not intend to enter the primordial battlefield this time around. Instead, he was prepared to enter the primordial battlefield the next time it opened. However, for the sake of Longao, Long Tion was prepared to enter the primordial battlefield. Furthermore, Master God Diviner's prediction was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he missed this opportunity, what if there wasn't another one? Don't worry, Brother Tong. Since I'm here to look for you, I'm fully confident. However, Brother Tong, let me make things clear first. If you encounter any opportunities or treasures in the ancient battlefield, you have to give them to me the first time. After the second time, we'll rely on our own abilities. How about that? If Long Tion did not state his conditions, Tong Zun would not dare to agree. Now that Long Tion had stated his conditions, Tong Zun was no longer worried and doubtful. He nodded. Tong Zun did not continue to hesitate and agreed. No problem, I agree. What are you going to do? It's simple. Forcefully suppress our abilities. I believe a peak Emperor God is more than enough to deal with any problems. Suppress one's abilities. Over the years, countless people had tried this method. However, no one had succeeded in entering the primordial battlefield. The reason was simple. Forcefully suppressing one's abilities was the easiest thing for a Nirvana realm martial artist. However, once they entered the primordial battlefield, they would be instantly killed by the aura of the primordial battlefield. This was the real reason why no one dared to use this method over the years. Tongzun thought that Long Tian would have a good idea. However, it turned out that this was the only way. If it was possible to forcefully suppress one's abilities to enter the primordial battlefield, he would have done it previously. Why would he need Long Tian's help? Long Tian seemed to be able to see through Tongzun's doubts and unhappiness. He suddenly laughed and said, "Brother Tong, I have studied this for tens of thousands of years. If I wasn't confident, would I choose to enter the primordial battlefield?" That's right. Tongzun did not think of this. No matter what, Long Tian would enter the primordial battlefield with him. If Long Tian wanted to play some tricks, why would he risk his life? All right, if that's the case, let's move out immediately. Nodding, Long Tian and Tongzun did not hesitate and left immediately. The Martial Artists Alliance was one of the 10 tripod factions. They also had an entrance to the primordial battlefield. The 10 tripod factions, the Long family, the Alchemy Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wanshou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhan School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Black Heaven sect all had an entrance. Therefore, the two of them did not return to the Long family. Instead, they prepared to enter the primordial battlefield. Martial Artists Alliance, at the entrance to the back mountain. Brother Tong, if we die in the primordial battlefield, we will lose more than we gain. Even now, Tongzun was still a little worried. After all, the legend of the ancient battlefield was right there. If he and Long Zhan were to die in the ancient battlefield, it would be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Even if they were not 100% confident, if they were 80% or even 70% confident, wouldn't they be courting death by entering the primordial battlefield? Brother Tong, to be honest, as long as the clairvoyant master does not interfere, I am 99% confident that we can enter the primordial battlefield. If we work together, who can defeat us? As long as we avoid the remnant souls of the primordial battlefield and the Nirvana divine beast, we will definitely obtain the opportunity. At this point, Tongzun knew that if he lost this opportunity, he would not even have the chance to regret it in the future. Thinking of this, Tongzun smiled and said, "Since that's the case, let's begin. We will work together in the primordial battlefield. As long as we are careful, we should be fine." Long Tian nodded and started to move. 2 hours later, the two of them disappeared and entered the primordial battlefield. Chapter 1343. In the primordial battlefield. Longao used teleportation and his speed sword to the extreme. Even if the dozens of disciples of the Long family scattered, they could not escape successfully. It was still that sentence, Longao's speed was too fast. After images were left behind. Then, screams came from all directions. In a few seconds, dozens of people had died. Longao did not waste any time and directly put all of them into the Dragon Seal space, including their divine souls. After successfully killing Longbo and the others, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. The biggest enemy of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family was Longbo. "Brother Long, be careful." Bai Ling, what's wrong? Hearing Bai Ling's reminder, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Was something going to happen? As expected. "Brother Long, my sister and I both sense that there seems to be remnant souls around. Don't stay any longer." A remnant soul that could make Bai Ling and Purple Spirit fearful. One could imagine the terrifying strength of the remnant soul. Longao had self-awareness, and it was impossible for him to die in vain. There was no other way. Longao immediately got up and left. However, he left quickly and returned even faster. "Who are you?" An illusory figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Without guessing, Longao already knew that the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him was definitely a remnant soul from the primordial battlefield. According to legend, The primordial battlefield was a place left behind by the so-called strong warriors. In other words, there were powerful remnant souls everywhere in the so-called primordial battlefield. Any one of them would be a divine path remnant soul, or even a supreme divine path remnant soul. Even nirvana remnant souls were not rare. Not to mention remnant souls, even real nirvana divine beasts existed. For example, the 10 blood kirans that appeared earlier. Therefore, the primordial battlefield was full of danger and crisis. That was exactly the case. Since entering the primordial battlefield, Longao had been careful and cautious. He was 120% alert because he was afraid of dying in the primordial battlefield. The remnant soul of the God King. Longao didn't know how powerful the original body of the remnant soul was. The remnant soul's current strength was only at the God King realm. The 4 supreme realms, from low to high, were the God King realm, God Emperor realm, God Venerable realm, and God Emperor realm. Sensing the strength of the remnant soul, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Even though his cultivation was only in the Earth God realm, Longao was extremely confident that with his strength and the strength of his reincarnation clone, they should have no problem dealing with the soul fragment of a God King. Hee, I haven't seen a stranger in a long time. Kid, do you know who I am? A sinister and terrifying laughter slowly spread. The remnant soul laughed so hard that its body shook. Because of the ancient battlefield seal, it didn't matter what level the remnant soul was at. Even the Nirvana realm blood Kiran couldn't leave the ancient battlefield. The seal of the primordial battlefield was there. It was precisely because of this that after so many years, it had finally seen a human. How could the remnant soul not be excited? Who I am is none of your business. The remnant soul was stunned by the other party's words. It had never imagined that the other party would be so arrogant. It was a little too arrogant. One had to know that the ancient battlefield was the remnant soul's territory. Longao could sense the remnant soul's strength. On the other hand, the remnant soul could clearly sense Longao's true strength. Because of this, the remnant soul didn't take Longao seriously at all. The eerie laughter rang out once again. It was a laughter that made one's hair stand on end. It made one's hair stand on end. Even Longao felt a little creeped out by the remnant soul's laughter. I don't care what you are. Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, I won't let you live to see the sun tomorrow. 1 word, arrogant. 3 words, very arrogant. 4 words, super arrogant. The remnant soul was a little dumbfounded. It was instantly enraged and attacked Longao crazily. Just as Longao had guessed, the remnant soul's original body was a genuine divine emperor. However, after his death, his body was destroyed but his spirit was not. The remnant soul's current strength was only at the divine king realm. Longao didn't dare to be careless. The reincarnation doppelganger appeared. Looking at the 2 identical Longao, the remnant soul was a little dumbfounded. However, the battle had already begun and the remnant soul naturally wouldn't back down. Longao and the reincarnation doppelganger teamed up, one on the left and one on the right. In the blink of an eye, they had already fought 10 rounds with the remnant soul. The more they fought, the more shocked the remnant soul was. The remnant soul didn't expect that the other party's true strength would be so strong, even though his cultivation was only at the Earth God realm. He couldn't believe that he couldn't defeat the other party within 10 moves. If he hadn't experienced it himself, the remnant soul wouldn't have believed it. An Earth God was able to withstand 10 moves from him. Was this for real? Innate divine ability, dragon roar. No matter who it was, no one would have expected Longao's innate divine ability to fight Longao for the first time. The surrounding aura fluctuated, and the remnant soul's body paused for a moment. Before the remnant soul could react, Longao had already used his ultimate time technique. Time rewind. The remnant soul felt that the surrounding time had begun to fluctuate. Suddenly, the remnant soul's speed slowed down. Not only that, Longao used time rewind and time acceleration at the same time. With one in front and one behind, Longao's speed was getting faster and faster. His speed was so fast that it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Longao's body had already appeared beside the remnant soul. He sneered and said, "I've already said that you'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, you won't live to see tomorrow's sun." You. Without giving the remnant soul any chance to speak, Longao had already fiercely punched out. As for the reincarnation doppelganger, he directly unsheathed the reincarnation sword. Fist and sword shadows intertwined and attacked the remnant soul in a very concentrated manner. If the remnant soul was fully prepared, it wouldn't have been defeated so easily. However, the remnant soul didn't expect that a puny earth god could change the flow of time. His speed was much slower while his opponent's speed was faster. Under the combination of the two, the remnant soul didn't even have the chance to react. How terrifying was that? Kacha. The fist and sword shadows all landed on the remnant soul's body. It didn't even have the time to scream before it dissipated. However, before the remnant soul disappeared, it suddenly shot out a jade-green stream of air towards the distance. In the blink of an eye, it had disappeared without a trace. Longao didn't care about it. After successfully killing the remnant soul, he immediately got up and left for the forbidden area of the ancient battlefield. After all, this was his main purpose for entering the ancient battlefield. Chapter 1344. Longao calculated the distance and found that he was at least 10 days away from the ancient forbidden grounds. One could imagine how big the ancient battlefield was. Longao sprinted all the way, his speed rising to the extreme. Longao, who was sprinting, suddenly stopped. Looking left and right at the surrounding environment, Longao at this moment appeared to be very curious and doubtful. Along the way, Longao always felt like someone was following him. Although this feeling was faintly discernible, Longao always had a bad premonition. Just in case, Longao communicated with the dragon seal space and asked directly, "What can you feel?" Xiling, Bai Ling, and Long Fu all shook their heads. This time, Longao was even more curious. He had always believed in his premonition. Could it be a remnant soul? Longao was surprised. The other party's strength should not be low. Otherwise, he would have sensed the other party's aura. There was no other way. Let's take a risk. Longao gritted his teeth. He knew that if he did not find the other party, it would be troublesome. Time rewind. Time forward. Time killer technique. Longao's speed suddenly increased countless times. As for the flow of time around him, it was reversed countless times. In this way, Longao, who could not sense the other party's aura, successfully sensed the other party's aura. Remnant soul. Longao was 100% sure that the aura following him was from the so-called remnant soul. How could an ordinary person discover it? Even Longao could barely sense the other party's aura with the help of time killer technique. One could imagine how terrifying the strength of this remnant soul was. Hee, I did not expect that a little earth god martial artist could discover my tracks. Not bad at all. A sinister laugh sounded. Swoosh. Without waiting for Longao to react, his body had already been violently thrown to the back, directly coming into close contact with the ground. Fuck. He cursed in his heart. Longao turned around and directly flipped over from where he was. Longao was shocked in his heart. This person's speed was so fast that even he could not catch up with him. Longao had a feeling that even if he used spatial teleportation, he might not be able to catch up with him. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Who are you? Hee, you killed my third brother, and you actually don't know what we are talking about. Ha ha ha, what an ignorant brat. Third brother? Could it be the remnant soul that he had killed before? In front of Longao. Suddenly, two silhouettes appeared. Longao looked over. The two silhouettes were actually two leopards, one white and one black. They were about 3 meters tall. Their entire bodies were wrapped in lightning patterns. They looked very domineering. Longao finally understood why the other party was so fast. Among all the spiritual beasts, the thunder leopard was the fastest. Even the dragon clan could not surpass the thunder leopard. Although the thunder leopard's speed and strength were powerful, they were extremely rare and were on the verge of extinction. Longao did not expect that he would meet two thunder leopards at this place at this time. The remnant soul was the third brother of the two thunder leopards. The original body of the two thunder leopards should be peak emperor god. However, after the death of their bodies, the strength of the two thunder leopards could reach the divine emperor realm at most. Two remnant souls of divine emperors. Longao's face was very gloomy. The speed of the thunder leopards was obvious. Longao knew that he could not surpass the two thunder leopards. What should he do? After thinking for a while, Longao could not think of a good idea. Brat, you killed our third brother. Blood for blood. No problem? The tone of the two thunder leopards was not a discussion at all. They did not put Longao in their eyes at all. A puny earth god realm martial artist, not to mention 2 against 1. Even if it was 1 against 1, they could easily defeat him. Because of this, the two thunder leopards looked lazy. Your third brother was courting death. What does it have to do with me? Hearing the other party's words, the two thunder leopards were surprised. Then, the two thunder leopards laughed crazily. Their laughter was full of contempt and disdain. From the beginning to the end, the two thunder leopards did not put Longao in their eyes at all. What an arrogant brat. Second brother, are you going to do it, or should I? Come your sister. Come at me together. Longao's cold face was filled with arrogance. His domineering aura caused the two lightning leopards to be a little moved. His blood-red long hair fluttered in the wind, and his face was filled with arrogance. Big brother, since this brat is courting death, I'll play with him. While speaking, the black lightning leopard had already rushed towards Longao. Its speed was too fast. It was like a bolt of lightning. Even the naked eye couldn't see it. No matter if it was the black lightning leopard or the white lightning leopard, both of them had full confidence that the other party would die without a doubt. But what was the result? The black thunder leopard was dumbfounded. The white thunder leopard was also dumbfounded because the black thunder leopard only managed to attack an afterimage. Where was the person? Shit. Shocked, the black thunder leopard could sense that the aura on its left suddenly became stronger. Not daring to be careless, the black thunder leopard directly attacked the left side. It was dumbfounded. Before the black thunder leopard could react, an intense pain came from its back. If it wasn't for the black thunder leopard's quick reaction and fast speed, it would have died here. The biggest reason why the black thunder leopard lost this battle was because it was careless. It did not put its heart and soul into the battle. It really was carelessness that killed people. Looking at the human in front of them, the black and white thunder leopards' faces became more and more unsightly. The two remnant souls finally understood why the human was able to kill their third brother. Not to mention strength, just speed alone was not comparable to the two of them. How could their third brother resist the human speed? The expression of the remnant souls of the thunder leopards became more and more serious. The speed that Longao displayed just now made them very afraid. After all, they were only remnant souls and could not display the strength of their original bodies. Big brother, let's join hands. I don't believe that we can't kill him. The white thunder leopard and the black thunder leopard would never have thought that what Longao used was teleportation and not the so-called speed. As the saying goes, no matter how fast one's speed was, it was impossible to contend against teleportation. Longao had full confidence in his spatial teleportation. Chapter 1345. A Battle of Speed. Longao was clear that strength wasn't the most important factor in this battle. The most important factor was speed. Both parties looked at each other. Kill. At first, the two lightning leopards didn't think much of it. But now, the two lightning leopards had become unusually serious. For some reason, the two thunderbolt leopards had a feeling that their speed wasn't as fast as the other party. Although they didn't want to believe it, the truth was right in front of them. They had no choice but to believe it. 1 against 2. The black and white thunderbolt leopards flanked Longao from the left and right respectively. The two thunderbolt leopards were extremely fast. Under the suppression of their aura, the two had already blocked their attacks. If Longao were to be hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. Spatial teleportation. Longao used his spatial teleportation in advance. The moment his body disappeared, he used his time sure kill technique. Time forward, time rewind, time stop. The time sure kill technique had 3 killer moves: time forward, time rewind, and time stop. Longao used 3 killer moves at the same time, which consumed a lot of his strength. However, in this battle, he could only win and not lose. Otherwise, not to mention going to the ancient forbidden grounds, whether he could survive or not was unknown. Longao increased his speed, while the 2 thunderbolt leopards slowed down. One was moving forward while the other was moving backward. The 2 thunderbolt leopards felt that their speed was much slower. It was hard to believe. How did the other party achieve such speed? Reincarnation doppelganger. Longao wouldn't be stupid enough to fight 2 thunderbolt leopards alone. With the reincarnation doppelganger's strength, even if he couldn't defeat the thunderbolt leopards in a one-on-one situation, he believed that he wouldn't lose. 2 identical humans? What was going on? Both the black and white thunderbolt leopards were dumbfounded. They didn't know how the other party did it. Was he still an earth god martial artist? Both parties had reached their maximum speed, but Longao was still slightly better. Kill them for me. Longao evaded the 2 lightning leopards and ordered his reincarnation avatar. The reincarnation avatar didn't have any consciousness and only listened to Longao's orders. If Longao told the reincarnation avatar to go east, he believed that the reincarnation avatar wouldn't dare to go west. If Longao said 1, the reincarnation avatar wouldn't dare to say 2. The god-slaying sword in the reincarnation avatar's hand had already disappeared. Next, a broken bow appeared in his hand. It was the Annihilation Divine Bow. Ever since he obtained the Annihilation Divine Bow, Longao rarely used the Annihilation Divine Bow because with his strength, once he forcefully used the Annihilation Divine Bow, the backlash would be very terrifying. If he was slightly careless, he would fall into eternal damnation. However, Longao wanted to give it a try. He wanted to see what would happen if the reincarnation avatar used the Annihilation Divine Bow. In any case, the reincarnated avatar had an immortal body. He believed that even if the Annihilation Divine Bow backfired on him, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. In other words, this was the first time the reincarnation avatar had used the bow. Let's go. The 2 thunderbolt leopards did not want to continue fighting. They had lived for countless years, so of course, they knew that it was impossible for them to win this battle. Rather than not being able to win, they might as well leave first and wait for another opportunity. However, would the 2 thunderbolt leopards be able to leave successfully? The reincarnation avatar had already drawn 1/3 of the Annihilation Divine Bow. What did that mean? Even Longao was a little surprised. Because Longao had never thought that the reincarnation avatar could forcefully draw 1/3 of the Annihilation Divine Bow. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Longao was well aware of the peak power of the Annihilation Divine Bow. Even if it was only 1/3 of the bow, it would be more than enough to kill 2 Divine Emperor Realm Thunderbolt Leopards. Longao knew the power of the Annihilation Divine Bow. The 2 Thunderbolt Leopards had also sensed the terrifying aura of the Annihilation Divine Bow. Because of this, the 2 Thunderbolt Leopards did not dare to stay any longer. However, the Annihilation Divine Bow had already locked onto the 2 Thunderbolt Leopards. It was almost impossible for them to leave now. Whoosh! The Annihilation Divine Bow was finally fully drawn. The aura condensed and 2 arrow lights were shot out. The 2 arrow lights were almost at the same speed and were several times faster than the 2 Thunderbolt Leopards. The power of the Annihilation Divine Bow was needless to say. The 2 Thunderbolt Leopards did not have any power to resist and were directly killed by the Annihilation Divine Bow. Until this moment, Longao was a little dumbfounded. Although he had guessed that the reincarnation avatar could use the Annihilation Divine Bow with his strength, he did not expect the reincarnation avatar to be so powerful with the help of the Annihilation Divine Bow. In any case, the death of the 2 Thunderbolt Leopards could be considered a great help to him. Xiling and Bai Ling appeared one after another. Xiling and Bai Ling seemed to be surprised by the power of the Annihilation Divine Bow. Xiling said, "I really didn't expect the reincarnation avatar to be able to draw 1/3 of the Annihilation Divine Bow with his strength. Longao, not to mention a divine emperor, even an ultimate god can be killed in an instant." Longao nodded. Of course, he knew the power of the Annihilation Divine Bow. As Xiling said, the reincarnation avatar and the annihilation divine Bao's power could kill an ultimate god in an instant, let alone a divine emperor. As for whether it could kill an emperor god, it would depend on the actual battle. Longao, I really want to know. How did you condense the reincarnation avatar? From the beginning to the end, Longao only told Bai Ling about the reincarnation avatar. Not to mention the others, even Xiling and Long Fu did not know about it. Because of this, Xiling was very surprised. He did not know how Longao managed to condense the reincarnation avatar to be so powerful. Now that things had come to such a stage, what Longao should have concealed would be concealed, and what should not be concealed would not be concealed. Because he was almost certain that Purple Spirit would not harm him. Otherwise, with Purple Spirit's power, she had countless opportunities to easily destroy him. Not only did Purple Spirit not harm him, she had instead helped him in every way. To be honest, my reincarnation avatar should be related to my bloodline. As for how it was condensed, I still do not know the reason. Xiling nodded. He did not doubt Longao's words at all. In fact, Xiling thought that Longao's ability to condense such a powerful reincarnation avatar should be related to Longao's bloodline. After all, the truth was right in front of him. If he was not mistaken, Longao should be from the reincarnation clan. Xiling even had a feeling that the young man standing in front of him was a reincarnated expert. As for the strength of his original body, he did not know. Longao, in my opinion, your reincarnation avatar is too mysterious and powerful. If it continues to grow, it's hard to imagine how powerful it will become. Xiling sighed. Looking at the cold-looking reincarnation avatar, Xiling even felt a little envious. Longao did not speak. This was because even he did not know much about the reincarnation avatar. As for how powerful it would become, he did not know either. Bai Ling knew very well that Longao did not want to talk about this issue. She changed the topic and asked, Brother Long, the primordial battlefield is full of dangers. What do you plan to do next? Bai Ling was very worried about Longao's safety. If the reincarnation doppelganger did not use the silent divine Bao, she believed that even if Longao and the reincarnation doppelganger joined forces, they would not be a match for the two thunder leopards. Bai Ling did not want Longao to continue advancing. This was because the primordial battlefield was like this. The closer one was to the forbidden area, the more dangerous it would be. No one could guarantee that Longao would be able to survive every danger. Longao smiled. How could Longao not know that Bai Ling was worried about him? He smiled and said, Bai Ling, you don't need to worry about me. I know what I'm doing. Bai Ling still wanted to say something, but Xiling pulled her back into the god-slaying sword. Sister, I'm very worried about Brother Long's safety. I'm sure you know what the primordial battlefield means. I want to ask if you can join hands with me to forcibly send Brother Long out of the primordial battlefield. Looking at his kind sister in front of him, it would be a lie to say that he did not feel soft-hearted. However, Xiling still said, Sister, the primordial battlefield is full of dangers, but the opportunities are endless. You and I both know about Longao's situation. If he can improve quickly, not to mention the Tianwu continent, once this place is discovered, will your brother Long have a chance to survive? Bai Ling was speechless because she knew what her sister meant. No matter where one went, strength was the foundation. Without strength, one could only be beaten. Her brother Long's strength was not bad, and his cultivation talent was also rare. But even so, what could he do? Talent and strength. Even if Bai Ling did not want to admit it, she knew that her brother Long's talent and strength were not worth mentioning. Any random person could easily kill him. Sister. Waving his hand to stop Bai Ling, Xiling helplessly said, Danger and opportunity coexist. If Longao wants to obtain an opportunity and quickly increase his strength, it will depend on his courage, luck, and tempering. Sister, you have to remember that there is no such thing as a free lunch. That includes your brother Long, sister. What should we do now? Wait and see. Not only that, sister, from now on, no matter what danger Longao encounters, we can't help him. Otherwise, it won't benefit him in the slightest. There's also one more thing. You have to pay more attention to Long Fu. Sister, what's wrong with Long Fu? Bai Ling was very startled. She knew that her brother Long was Long Fu's master. Long Fu had always been very obedient and had always helped him. Could it be that there was something wrong with Long Fu? Of course, Bai Ling knew what her sister meant. However, Bai Ling didn't seem to believe it. In the end, Bai Ling was too kind. She had forgotten that it was impossible to know a person's heart from their stomach. You may know a person's face, but not his heart. Chapter 1346. Sister, are you saying that Long Fu will harm Big Brother Long? She nodded. She shook her head again. Xiling thought for a moment and said, I don't know, but I feel that something is wrong with Long Fu. Let's keep an eye on him. You don't want anything to happen to Longao. Xiling and Bai Ling were both in the dragon seal space. They could only communicate with each other using their spiritual senses. Otherwise, Long Fu would definitely hear them. Sister, I know what to do. Bai Ling naturally didn't want anything to happen to Longao. In the primordial battlefield, after successfully killing the 2 lightning leopards, Longao didn't continue on his way. Instead, he sat on the ground and began to recuperate. He had suffered some minor injuries in the battle with the 2 lightning leopards. He had to recover as quickly as possible. Otherwise, who knew what dangers he would encounter in the primordial battlefield? The primordial battlefield. This time, the 10 sects were in charge. The Long family, the Pill Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Myriad Beasts sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the 5 Elements sect, the Wanjan School, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Black Heaven sect had entered the primordial battlefield. There were at least 10,000 people. In just a few days, at least 1/5 of the 10,000 people had died. What did that mean? In other words, out of the 10,000 people who had entered the primordial battlefield, 2,000 people had died in less than 3 days. At this rate, there would only be 1 person left. It was unknown if there would be 100 people left alive. Even so, the remaining people were still madly rushing toward the primordial battlefield. The reason was simple. The godly mathematician had predicted that the primordial battlefield was at its weakest. It was easier to obtain fortuitous encounters at this time. No matter what, the legends of the primordial battlefield were still there. They were like moths to a flame. Even though they knew that the situation in front of them was uncertain, the remaining people of the 10 Directions cauldrons still charged forward without hesitation. The 10 sects not only had to deal with the dangers of the primordial battlefield, but they also had to face the sneak attacks and assassinations of other forces. In the Martial Heaven continent, there were 10 factions fighting openly and secretly. Everyone wanted to become the #1 superpower in the Martial Heaven continent. Entering the primordial battlefield was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could they give it up so easily? That was indeed the case. When the 10 forces fought each other, the probability of death was often far greater than the danger of the ancient battlefield. After recuperating, Longao was about to rush to the ancient forbidden grounds, but he suddenly changed his plan. Since the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wanted to deal with him, why not give them a taste of their own medicine? The disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were all together. Longao knew that he had no chance at all. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Even if the reincarnation doppelganger could use the godly bow of annihilation, it would be impossible for him to win. 1 against 1,000. However, the current situation was completely different. Regardless of whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance or the Long family, everyone had been sent to different places after entering the primordial battlefield. If he could defeat them one by one, it would be advantageous for him. In the following days, Longao tried his best to kill the disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Since he had the reincarnation clone and the divine destroyer bow, he could almost instantly kill them as long as they were not emperor gods. In a short day, Longao had successfully killed more than 30 people. If it was before, he would not dare to believe such a result. The biggest contributor was definitely the reincarnation clone. The reincarnation doppelganger alone would have a hard time killing a divine king, let alone an ultimate god. However, the reincarnation doppelganger could easily kill an ultimate god with the help of the divine obliteration bow. While the 10 forces were rushing to the ancient forbidden grounds, they were also looking for partners. That was because everyone in the 10 forces knew very well that there was strength in numbers, especially in the primordial battlefield. However, the primordial battlefield was too big. It was really difficult to find partners. Yi Fei, the number one among the younger generation of the Martial Artists Alliance. He was also the former number one on the Earth leaderboard and was now number two. It would be a lie to say that Yi Fei was not angry about Longao's strong rise to the top of the station leaderboard. It was because of that. This time, Yi Fei volunteered to enter the primordial battlefield to fight Longao. From start to end, Yi Fei did not place Longao in his eyes at all. Could a person who relied on unorthodox secret arts pose a threat? However, Yi Fei was also depressed because he had not found any trace of Longao even after 7 days in the primordial battlefield. Looking for a person in the vast primordial battlefield was like looking for a needle in a haystack. As for the number of people, Yi Fei had successfully found 30 of his own people. As such, Yi Fei's force was considered the strongest among the 10 forces. That was why Yi Fei led 30 people to the ancient forbidden grounds in a frenzy. He was full of confidence. Brother Yi, that looks like Longao. Longao? Yi Fei had already seen Longao's figure. After all, Longao had caused havoc in the Martial Artists Alliance twice. It was impossible for Yi Fei to not recognize him. In fact, Yi Fei was also a shameless person. If Yi Fei was really confident, he would not have hidden in the dark when Longao caused havoc in the Martial Artists Alliance. After all, Yi Fei was still afraid of Longao. Otherwise, he would not be in such a hurry to kill Longao. Previously, he was number one on the Earth leaderboard. Suddenly, Longao took the number one spot. Yi Fei was not happy about it. No one made a move immediately because Longao was currently fighting against the disciples of the Long family. With Longao's strength, he was actually able to kill a heavenly god. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. The gap between an earth god and a heavenly god was huge. Even if it was not as big as the gap between the Divine Path Realm and the Supreme Divine Path Realm, it was not that big of a difference. As everyone knew, Longao was only able to possess such strength because of a secret technique. The secret technique could be used once, but could it be used repeatedly? If he could use the secret technique repeatedly, wouldn't Longao be invincible? After successfully killing the disciples of the Long family, Longao did not leave because he could clearly sense that there were many people behind him. Longao did not seem surprised at all. He had already guessed the identity of Yi Fei and the others. You are Yi Fei, the number one on the Earth leaderboard? Longao knew very well that although he was the so-called number one on the Earth leaderboard, his true strength was not even in the top 20 of the Earth leaderboard. As for Yi Fei, who was in front of him, he was the true number one on the Earth leaderboard. Even Longbo and Shirpatian were not a match for him. One could imagine how powerful Yi Fei was. Yi Fei, number one on the Earth leaderboard. Legend had it that Yi Fei's strength had already reached the peak of the God Emperor realm. He was half a step into the Nirvana realm and had successfully condensed the aura of heaven and earth. This was also the real reason why Yi Fei's strength was far superior to other God Emperor warriors. Chapter 1347. So what if I am? So what if I'm not? Yi Fei sneered. Idiot. Yi Fei was crazy, but Longao was even crazier. Yi Fei was crazier than Longao. No one was surprised by Longao's arrogance. If Longao wasn't crazy, he wouldn't have dared to make trouble at the Martial Artists Alliance twice. In other people's eyes, Longao's previous actions were suicidal. Ha ha. Yi Fei laughed and said, Longao, it's true that hearing about you is better than meeting you in person. Before Yi Fei could finish, Longao interrupted him and said, Cut the crap. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't, then scram. Longao's domineering aura increased. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't, then scram. Everyone looked at the black-clothed and red-haired young man in front of them, dumbfounded. The calmer Longao appeared, the more unsure they were. Yi Fei was also stunned. Could it be that Longao was really that confident? However, things had already come to this point. Would he back down? If that was the case, not only would he lose face, but he also wouldn't be able to explain to his ancestors when he returned to the Martial Artists Alliance after leaving the primordial battlefield. Before entering the primordial battlefield, Tong Zun had repeatedly instructed Yifei to kill Longao no matter what happened in the primordial battlefield, even if he had to put the search for opportunities aside. Longao, do you like to fight one-on-one or in a group? Longao didn't even need to ask to know what Yifei was going to say, because it was the same whether he chose to fight one-on-one or in a group. Stop dilly-dallying. Longao did not want to waste time with Yifei and the others. He summoned his reincarnation avatar from his chaotic Dantian, and the reincarnation avatar used the Annihilation Divine Bow. Longao's intention was very simple. He wanted to borrow the power of the reincarnation avatar's Annihilation Divine Bow to kill as many as he could. As the saying went, it was difficult for two fists to fight four hands. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, it would be difficult for him to obtain victory in the shortest amount of time, let alone 1 against 30. Thus, Longao was prepared to deal with a portion of them first. He would continue to do so consecutively. As for the remaining God Emperor martial artists, he would think of a way to deal with them himself. 2 Longaos? Looking at the sudden appearance of another Longao, everyone was dumbfounded. Even so, Yifei and the others still did not put the Longao in their eyes. So what if there was an Earth God and another Earth God? But what was the result? As the saying went, once an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. Just as the reincarnation doppelganger pulled the godly silence bow, a terrifying aura had already spread out and enveloped everyone. Let's go. Feeling the terrifying aura enveloping them, Yifei was shocked and seemed to have guessed something. Yifei immediately ordered everyone to leave, although he did not know how Longao did it. Yifei and the others wanted to leave, but everyone was already enveloped by the aura emitted by the godly silence bow. Unless they were God Emperors, it was impossible for them to break free from the aura suppression. Even ultimate gods were no exception. The 2 thunder leopards from before were genuine ultimate gods. Even so, the 2 thunder leopards did not have the slightest ability to resist and were directly killed by the godly silence bow and the reincarnation doppelganger. If Yifei and the others knew about the reincarnation doppelganger's battle record, it was unknown if they would still be so arrogant just now. With a whoosh, the reincarnation doppelganger was finally released. Rays of arrow light shot out, and before anyone could react, all the martial artists below the God Emperor level were covered by the arrow light and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Among the 31 people, there were only 5 God Emperors, including Yifei. In other words, from the beginning to the end of the battle, 16 of the 31 people had died in less than a few seconds. What kind of concept was that? Yifei and the others forcibly broke free from the aura suppression and quickly left. From the beginning to the end, Yifei and the others had never thought that Longao's strength would be so strong. Strictly speaking, it was the other Longao who changed the situation of the battle. They did not know what was going on with the other Longao. Could it be that an expert secretly helped Longao? If this person's strength was really so strong, why did he hide his identity? After thinking about it, Yifei and the others still could not figure it out. Sneering endlessly, Longao used spatial teleportation. His figure also followed Yifei and the others. Wanting to compete with him in speed was simply a fool's dream. Longao secretly followed Yifei. Yifei and the others did not know. Otherwise, Yifei and the others would have used all their strength to drink milk. With regards to the reincarnation doppelganger and the silent divine bow, Longao became more and more confident, killing 16 Supreme God and Supreme God martial artists in one move. Such a battle record made one's heart surge with excitement. After running wildly for half an hour and confirming that Longao did not chase after them, Yifei and the others finally stopped. The scene just now was a little too terrifying. Fortunately, the 5 of them ran quickly. Otherwise, they would have been killed directly by the other party. Until now, the 5 of them still could not figure out who the expert who helped Longao was. Under the Nirvana realm, Yifei was considered the strongest martial artist. Unless the other party was a Nirvana realm martial artist, who else could be Yifei's opponent? Could it be that Longao had helpers in the ancient battlefield? If that was the case, things would be troublesome because the ancient battlefield did not restrict the remnant souls and divine beasts. In other words, there were many Nirvana Realm remnant souls and Nirvana Realm divine beasts in the ancient battlefield. If Longao really had the help of a Nirvana Realm martial artist in the ancient battlefield, not to mention killing Longao, it was unknown whether they could leave the ancient battlefield alive. Senior Brother Yi, what should we do now? The four of them looked very gloomy and ugly. It would be a lie to say that they did not feel heartache after losing 16 of their own people. However, the people who entered the ancient battlefield this time were the most outstanding and talented disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance. Not to mention losing 16 of them, even losing one of them was something that the Martial Artists Alliance did not want to see. What should they do? Yifei sighed deeply in his heart. Longao had the help of an expert, and Yifei did not know what to do. From the beginning to the end, Yifei and the other four did not dare to imagine that the so-called expert was just a clone of Longao. If the five of them knew about it, who knew what they would think? Yifei and the other four had always thought that Longao had the help of an expert in the ancient battlefield. Otherwise, it would be impossible to rely on Longao's strength alone. Even so, Longao was already in an invincible position, unless the expert retreated on his own accord. But was that possible? Calm down. We can't kill Longao now. Even if we return to the Alliance, we can still answer to the old ancestor. As for now, we should immediately rush to the ancient forbidden grounds. If I can obtain an opportunity, I will kill Longao with my own hands after he leaves the ancient battlefield. Opportunity. The legend of the ancient battlefield was there. Everyone knew that the ancient forbidden grounds was the place with the most opportunities in the ancient battlefield. If one was lucky enough to obtain an opportunity, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Yifei was very confident that once he broke through to the Nirvana realm from the Emperor God realm, killing Longao would be a matter of minutes. Senior Brother Yi, we are only left with the five of us. Compared to the other forces, we are obviously much weaker. If we barge into the ancient forbidden grounds, I am afraid that the others will attack us. The four of them were very clear that if they were outside, the other forces might be wary of Senior Brother Yi. However, in the ancient battlefield, in order to obtain an opportunity and kill Yifei, they believed that the other forces would be more than willing to join forces to deal with them. If that was the case, they would be in a very passive position. How could Yifei not know what the four of them were thinking? After thinking for a while, he said, "Since things have come to this point, we cannot give up no matter what. The four of you remember, if you encounter danger, don't implicate each other. Think of a way to leave by yourself. If you can save one of us, do you understand?" It had to be said that Yifei was not a very shameless person. Even at this point, he still wanted to leave some people for the Alliance. After all, the four of them were the most talented disciples in the Alliance. If one of them died, there would be one less disciple. The most important thing was to have a talented disciple. Let's go. Yifei, you want to leave just like that? Hearing the voice and seeing Longao suddenly appear in front of them, Yifei and the other four's faces changed drastically. Their speed was already very fast. How did Longao catch up with them? The five's faces became more and more gloomy. If it was the previous Longao, they couldn't wait to find this person immediately. However, the lesson just now had indeed frightened them. The strength of the expert who helped Longao was there. Not to mention one-on-one. Even if it was 5 against 1, they didn't have the slightest confidence. The opponent was too strong. Killing 16 people in one move was something that even Yifei couldn't do, unless it was a Nirvana realm martial artist. Because of this, Yifei and the other four could almost be sure that the expert who helped Longao was a Nirvana realm martial artist. If the 5 of them knew that the reincarnation avatar was only an Earth God realm martial artist, who knew what they would think? They might even have the heart to die. However, as long as Longao didn't say anything and the reincarnation avatar didn't take action, the 5 of them believed that they would never know. In their eyes, the reincarnation avatar was a mysterious expert and a powerful Nirvana realm martial artist. Longao, don't go too far. Going too far? Upon hearing Yifei's words, Longao laughed and said in disdain, "I've seen shameless people before, but I've never seen someone as shameless as you. Isn't your main motive for entering the primordial battlefield to kill me? Since that's the case, I am standing right in front of you. Why don't you take action? Yifei, let me give you a piece of advice. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you miss it, I'm afraid you won't have another chance to deal with me in the future. Longao retreated in order to advance. Because even if the reincarnation avatar used the solitary god Bao, it was impossible to kill the 5 of them. After all, the 5 of them were genuine god emperors. Chapter 1348. The more Longao behaved like this, the less confident Yifei and the other 4 felt. It was still the same. Any one of them could easily defeat Longao, not to mention the 5 of them working together, Longao alone. But what about the current situation? Longao was not alone. There was a mysterious expert beside him, who was most likely a Nirvana realm warrior. Although the 5 of them were arrogant, they knew their limits. 5 against 1, they had no chance of winning. A fight? Unless there was something wrong with their heads, they would not act recklessly. Longao, if you want to fight with any one of us, I'll be happy to accept. At this point, Yifei did not continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Yifei meant that if he did not have the help of the mysterious expert, with just him, among the 5 of us, any one of us can easily kill you. How could Longao not understand this point? Longao laughed. His laughter was filled with all kinds of emotions: disdain, contempt, disdain, and even some disgust and impatience. Yifei, what you're trying to say is that this battle is very fair to all of you because someone helped me, right? Isn't it? Yifei and the other 4 took it for granted. In their opinion, if Longao did not have the help of the mysterious expert, would he dare to be so arrogant? If that was the case, Longao would not have dared to show up. Ha ha ha, Yifei, as the most outstanding disciple of the Martial Artists Alliance and ranked first on the Earth list, you are a shameless person. He shook his head in disdain. Seeing Longao's expression, Yifei and the other 4 were furious. Their faces were gloomy and as ugly as they could be. Before the 5 of them could speak, Longao spoke first. Yifei, weren't you shameless when you teamed up with 31 people to deal with me? With a sneer, Longao continued, I was just a helper, but you had 30 helpers. Yifei, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that there is such a shameless person like you in this world. Was this the same concept? Hearing Longao's words, Yifei and the other 4 were dumbfounded. Yes, Yifei knew that he had the help of 30 junior brothers, but none of them could break through the Nirvana realm. Moreover, he was the strongest among the 30. As for Longao, the mysterious expert beside him was most likely a Nirvana realm warrior. A Supreme Path warrior and a Nirvana realm warrior were not the same concept. He cursed in his heart. Yifei clearly knew that the 2 sides were not on the same level, but he was rendered speechless by the question. This was because previously, they had indeed bullied him with numbers. Yifei and the other 4 were already prepared to leave at any time. Yifei, are you afraid? I'm afraid of you. Yifei laughed. Longao Yifei's smile was because he had no confidence in his heart, but Longao's smile was because he had confidence in his heart. Because Longao had almost 100% confidence that things had already reached this step, even if he gave Yifei 10,000 guts, he believed that Yifei would not dare to attack him. Trash. Before Yifei could counterattack, Longao had already summoned his reincarnation doppelganger from his chaotic dantian. The reincarnation doppelganger was holding the silent extinction bow. Seeing the reincarnation doppelganger, Yifei and the others were shocked. The lesson from before was still vivid in their minds. In the eyes of Yifei and the others, the reincarnation doppelganger was most likely a Nirvana realm martial artist. A Supreme Path warrior could not shake a Nirvana realm warrior. A Supreme Path warrior wanting to fight a Nirvana realm warrior was like a fool's dream. Let's go. Just as Longao had guessed, Yifei wouldn't dare to fight under such circumstances. Otherwise, Yifei wouldn't have dilly-dallied with him just now. He believed that Yifei would have already started a fight with him. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not think that he could kill Yifei and the other 4. He was just trying to scare them. Although he did not think of killing them, Longao did not intend to let them go. This was the primordial battlefield after all, a place full of danger. There were opportunities everywhere. Longao was looking for such an opportunity to kill Yi Fei and the other four. In this primordial battlefield, Longao only had to deal with two superpowers. One was the Martial Artists Alliance, and the other was the Long family. As for the other 8 super forces, Longao was very clear that unless he took the initiative to provoke them, he believed that the 8 super forces would not take the initiative to attack him. As for himself, unless there was water in his brain, he would not provoke the 8 superpowers for no reason. It was better to have a friend than to provoke an enemy, not to mention provoking the 10 Directions cauldrons. Longao sneered. With the help of spatial teleportation, he followed them like a ghost. Not to mention Yi Fei and the other 4, even Nirvana Realm martial artists would not dare to say that their speed was faster than Longao's. It was precisely because of this that Yi Fei and the other 4 were depressed to the extreme. Because no matter how they ran and thought of all kinds of methods, they were still unable to get rid of Longao. Longao was like a ghost, pestering them. Longao, the grudge between you and me is written off. No matter what happens between you and the Martial Artists Alliance in the future, we will not do anything to you. How about it? Yi Fei shouted as he ran. At this point, Yi Fei and the other 4 were afraid. Longao and the mysterious expert had been following them. Who knew when Longao would attack? Moreover, they were in the primordial battlefield. If this continued, they would definitely die. Therefore, Yi Fei and the other 4 were afraid. In the end, they could only choose to compromise. If this was outside or under normal circumstances, it would be impossible. The 5 of them felt that they had lost a lot of face this time. If this matter were to spread out, where would their face go? Where would the Martial Artists Alliance's face go? But in the face of death, everything was just nonsense. Ha ha ha. Longao was laughing from the bottom of his heart. Yi Fei and the other 4 were Emperor Realm martial artists. Moreover, Yi Fei was the number 1 of the younger generation, the number 1 on the Earth ranking. What did this mean? Longao did not say anything. As for Yi Fei and the other 4, their faces turned ugly when they heard Longao's laughter. Longao was looking down on them. But under such circumstances, what could they do? Even if they were unhappy, they could only swallow it down. Who asked them to not be able to defeat Longao? A Nirvana Realm martial artist was like an insurmountable mountain. The 5 of them could not wait to kill Longao and tear him apart. Otherwise, they would not be able to vent the hatred in their hearts. Longao, you have to think clearly. The reason you entered the primordial battlefield this time is to obtain opportunities. If both of us suffer, you will regret it. Chapter 1349. Internecine? Longao had a feeling that he wanted to laugh out loud. Was Yi Fei out of his mind? In this battle, regardless of whether he could kill the 5 of them, he had the upper hand. Since that was the case, how could it be internecine? Yi Fei, if you dare to fight with my friend, as long as you can win by 1 or 2 moves, I'll let you go. F***CK, hearing Longao's words, Yi Fei immediately cursed. If he fought with a Nirvana Realm martial artist, he would be seeking his own death. Even if Yi Fei had 10,000 guts, he would not dare to stop. If that's the case, I have no choice. Longao was completely confident that Yi Fei would not dare to fight with the reincarnation avatar, because other than himself, no one knew that with the strength of the reincarnation avatar, even if he used the extinction divine bow, he would not be able to kill a divine lord. It was because Yi Fei did not know that he did not dare to fight. If Yi Fei were to find out about this, he would probably be angered to death. Just like that, Longao and the reincarnation avatar chased while Yi Fei and the other 4 ran. Both parties, one in front and one behind, were extremely fast, like a whirlwind. Is that Longao? No, Longao is chasing after Yi Fei. Seeing the 2 parties disappear in the blink of an eye, everyone who saw them turned pale with fright. Was this real? If they did not see it with their own eyes, how many would choose to believe it? 2 Longaos? Everyone swallowed hard and looked at the 2 Longaos chasing after each other. They were a little dumbfounded. They did not know why there were 2 Longaos. Could it be a clone? Those who entered the primordial battlefield were the most outstanding disciples of the 10 forces. Moreover, all of them were Supreme Dao martial artists or Supreme Dao martial artists. Of course, they knew that it was impossible for two identical Longao to appear in this world. If there were no accidents, Longao would have his own doppelganger. Although they were very shocked, it happened to Longao, so the others were not surprised. As it turned out, only those who had broken through to the peak of the martial way could create their own doppelganger. Other than that, even Nirvana realm warriors, especially powerful people like Long Tian and Tong Zun, were unable to create their own doppelganger. How did Longao do it? Everyone was sure that Longao's cultivation had not broken through the peak of martial arts. Otherwise, how could Longao have bypassed the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family so easily? Would the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family let go of Longao? There was no suspense in this obvious thing. Curiosity killed the cat. Everyone was very curious when they saw Longao chasing after the others. They even gave up on rushing to the ancient Forbidden Land and went in the direction that Longao and Yifei had left. Everyone wanted to see what had happened and why Longao was chasing after Yifei instead of Yifei chasing after Longao. Among the top 3 on the Earth leaderboard, Longao was ranked first, Yifei was ranked second, and Longbo was ranked third. As everyone knew, the first place on the Earth leaderboard was not Longao, but Yifei from the Martial Artist Alliance. The two of them were not on the same level. The reason why Longao could suppress Yifei and be ranked first on the Earth leaderboard was not because he was stronger than Yifei, but because Longao had caused trouble in the Martial Artists Alliance twice and escaped unscathed. Although Longao was ranked first on the Earth leaderboard, in many people's eyes, Longao was not Yifei's opponent at all. No matter what, Yifei was known as the strongest person below the Nirvana realm. Moreover, he had successfully condensed the chi of heaven and earth and was already half a step into the Nirvana realm. How could Longao defeat Yifei without using any secret techniques? Yifei and the other 4, who were running wildly, felt the countless auras chasing after them from all directions. Their faces became gloomier and gloomier. Whether they lived or died in this battle, they had completely embarrassed themselves. As the strongest person in the Martial Artists Alliance, the strongest person below the Nirvana realm, and the strongest person among the younger generation, when had they ever been humiliated like this? Yifei cursed fiercely in his heart. He was also extremely depressed. If it wasn't for the mysterious expert helping Longao, would Longao dare to chase after him? However, since things had already developed to this point, Longao would not let him go. In fact, if this happened to him, he believed that not only would he end up like Longao, but he would also end up worse. Since ancient times, there was a saying that if you cut the grass without removing the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Being merciful to the enemy was the greatest cruelty to oneself. This kind of low-level mistake, he believed that no one would make it. Yifei was very clear in his heart that this was not the way to go. As the saying goes, it is better to be safe than sorry. If the 5 of them were caught by Longao, what should they do then? The 4 of you, scatter. I want to see what Longao will choose. Yifei had no choice but to think of this method. In fact, Yifei hoped that Longao would not chase after him and go after the other 4. In this way, he could at least save his life. At the critical moment of life and death, Yifei would rather sacrifice the 4 of them to protect himself. Therefore, what bullshit sect, what bullshit senior brothers, they were all fake. The 4 of them were not fools. Of course, they knew what Yifei meant. Even if they were angry and unhappy, the 4 of them did not dare to say anything. Left with no choice, the 4 of them could only follow Yifei's method and scatter to see who would be the unlucky one. East, south, west, north, south, east, and west. For God Lord martial artists left at the same time. 5 of them chose 5 different directions. All 5 of them hoped that Longao would not chase after them. What a joke. Longao was an earth god martial artist after all, but the 5 of them were genuine God Lord martial artists, yet they were chased by Longao to such an extent. If this matter were to spread, not only would the 5 of them lose face, but the Martial Artists Alliance would also lose face. Who would Longao chase after? F*CK. Yifei cursed when he sensed Longao's aura coming towards him. He immediately sped up and ran like crazy. As for the four of them, they all let out a long sigh of relief when they saw Longao chasing after Yifei. It seemed like Longao wanted to kill Yifei the most, not the four of them. Under normal circumstances, the four of them would definitely chase after Yifei. After all, nothing must happen to Yifei. However, especially after what happened just now, the four of them looked at each other and saw their own decision from each other's eyes. Moreover, the four of them had made the same decision. Let's go. The bigger picture is more important. Without exception, the four of them did not chase after Yifei. Instead, they flew towards the ancient forbidden land. The four of them knew that although they said they were thinking about the bigger picture, they were still afraid of death. Otherwise, the four of them would have gone to help Yifei instead of running away. Longao did not say anything. However, he was laughing coldly in his heart. From the beginning to the end, Longao only had Yifei in mind. This was because among the five of them, Yifei was the one who posed the greatest threat to him. As for Yifei's intention, how could he not know? Therefore, Longao did not even think before chasing after Yifei. Longao could not kill Yifei at all. Even with the help of the reincarnation doppelganger and the godly destroyer Bao, he could not kill Yifei. However, if Longao did not say anything, no one would know, including Yifei. In fact, Yifei was also a little panicked. Otherwise, Yifei, who had calmed down, would definitely know that something was wrong. This was because if Longao had full confidence, why did he not directly attack and kill all five of them? In the end, it was because Longao did not have the strength to do so. Therefore, he chose to chase after them directly. Longao continued to chase after Yifei. Seeing this situation, everyone was very curious and followed after him. As for the disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance, they did not dare to approach. What kind of joke was this? If Longao dared to chase after Yifei, wouldn't it be suicide for the rest of them to go after him? Because of this, Yifei became a loner. No one dared to go after him. Moreover, the people from the other 9 superpowers were all watching a good show. No one cared about the life and death of Yifei and Longao. They only cared about one thing, and that was the battle between Longao and Yifei. Who would survive and who would die? Longao's speed was neither fast nor slow. Since he did not surpass Yifei, he would not let Yifei escape. From the beginning to the end, Longao was looking for a rare opportunity. This was because he knew very well that he had to kill Yifei in one hit. Otherwise, if Yifei saw through his weakness, it would be very difficult to continue to kill Yifei. Therefore, he had to kill Yifei in one hit. F***CK. Is this for real? Looking at the direction Yifei was running in, Longao was dumbfounded. That was where the 10 blood Kirans were. Longao was not afraid or worried. In fact, he was very happy. This was because he had decided to use the 10 blood Kirans to deal with Yifei. There were more and more people around them. In just half an hour, there were already more than 100 people running madly with the two of them. Everyone wanted to see the battle between Yifei and Longao. They wanted to see who would win and who would lose, and who would live and who would die. Somewhere in the ancient battlefield, Tong Zun and Long Tian, who had successfully suppressed their strength, had successfully entered the primordial battlefield. Moreover, they hadn't been suppressed by the aura of the primordial battlefield and perished. At the same time, the two of them were pleasantly surprised. They were extremely solemn and fearful because the two of them had entered the primordial battlefield in the past and obtained fortuitous encounters. Others might not know, but the two of them knew very well how dangerous the primordial battlefield was. What should we do now? Tong Zun was very surprised. Until now, he did not know how Long Tian had managed to do it. After all, for so many years, no Nirvana realm martial artist had been able to enter the ancient battlefield. The ancient battlefield was filled with opportunities, but it was also filled with danger. If one was not careful, they would be doomed. Long Tian thought for a moment and said, "Let's go straight to the ancient forbidden grounds. Along the way, we must be very careful. With our current strength, if we encounter a Nirvana realm remnant soul or a Nirvana realm divine beast, we will definitely die." The two of them nodded in agreement. Without any hesitation, they immediately flew towards the ancient forbidden grounds. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1350. At this moment, Yifei was depressed to the extreme. He was a Peking god. He was the strongest person below Nirvana. Now, he was being chased by a little earth god. Even Yifei himself could not accept this reality. But in this situation, he had to stay alive first. When it came to survival, everything else was bullshit. From beginning to end, Yifei and the others did not know that they were heading in the direction of the 10 blood Kirins. Longao had used the blood Kirin's power to kill Longao. Yifei, I will give you a chance. He laughed coldly. Yifei, if you break your arms and destroy your skills, I will let you go. Ck your mother. Yifei cursed angrily. His anger was like a volcano that was about to erupt. But in this situation, he could only be angry. He could not do anything. That was it. Yifei cursed as he ran. Longao laughed coldly and chased after him. The two of them kept chasing each other. Before they knew it, the two of them and 100 other people had entered the Blood Kirin's territory. But Longao knew about the Blood Kirins, so he stopped and turned around to leave. Longao was not going to chase them? Yifei wasn't the only one who was shocked. Everyone else was frozen. No one knew why Longao had suddenly stopped chasing them. The more Longao acted like this, the more worried Yifei felt. What the hell was Longao doing? Just when no one knew what was going on, a horrifying bloody aura enveloped everyone. Everyone was shocked. Blood Kirins? Look, blood Kirins. There are blood Kirins. There are 10 blood Kirins. Seeing the red clouds churning in the sky and the 10 blood Kirins atop them, everyone was shocked. Their legs started to shake, and they started to tremble with fear. The blood Kirin's presence was obvious. The 10 blood Kirins were real Nirvana beasts. 10 blood Kirins aside, even one blood Kirin could easily take care of them. Everyone, including Yifei, was no fool. Of course, they already knew what Longao meant. He had lured them here so that he could kill them with a borrowed knife. Yifei didn't care. After all, the person Longao wanted to deal with was Yifei. As for the others, they were innocent. It was precisely because of this. Everyone was cursing Longao in their hearts. At the same time, they were also cursing themselves. Why did they have to be curious? Curiosity really killed the cat. Among the 100 or so people, half of them stopped abruptly. In this situation, no one was willing to continue to care about the grudge between Yifei and Longao. They turned around and ran. In a short while, more than 50 people had disappeared without a trace. The remaining 50 people were enveloped by the Blood Kirin's presence. Even if they wanted to leave, they couldn't. In the distance, Longao was very curious as he looked at the top of the rolling blood-red clouds. Last time and this time, the 10 Blood Kirins had stayed on top of the clouds. They hadn't come down. Was there something fishy going on? Longao knew that if the 10 Blood Kirins wanted to, they could leave the clouds and come down to kill everyone. If that was the case, then he wouldn't have been able to leave so easily. His fists were clenched. It didn't matter if the 10 blood Kirins would come down or not. Longao was confident that even if the 10 blood Kirins suppressed them, no one would be able to withstand them. That included Yifei. The power suppressed the space. Yifei didn't dare move. He stared at the 10 blood Kirins on top of the red clouds. He wasn't sure when the 10 blood Kirins would attack. A God King warrior was a joke in front of a Nirvana beast. Yifei kept cursing Longao in his heart. He wasn't stupid, and he knew he had been tricked. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have chosen to leave after chasing him for so long. That meant that Longao knew there were 10 blood Kirins there. Yifei didn't know how Longao had found out. Had Longao been there? If that was the case, how had Longao been able to leave safely? Yifei thought about it, but there was no way he could regret his decision. Yifei felt depressed. If he had known this would happen, he would have fought Longao to the death. At least he would have had a chance. But now, there was no chance. At the top of the red clouds, the 10 blood Kirins coldly looked down at the people below. Just as Longao had predicted, the 10 blood Kirins didn't like humans. When they saw what was happening, they would attack without hesitation. The 10 blood Kirins were a restriction. They could only take the top of the red clouds, but they couldn't leave. Otherwise, Longao and Longbo wouldn't have been able to leave. They were dead. Yifei and the other 50 people looked hopeless. Everyone knew that if the 10 blood Kirins attacked together, no one would be able to survive. That was the difference in power between them, and it was unavoidable. Just as the 10 blood Kirins readied themselves to attack, a creepy and scary laugh sounded in the sky. Then, a green shadow appeared. Its body released a very strange presence. It was as if it could consume a martial artist's soul. What was going on? The 10 blood Kirins looked at the green shadow in front of them. They looked very serious. One of the blood Kirins shouted, "You killed our parents. Today, we will avenge them." Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I finally found you. Did your parents think they could hide you here? With you here, I can break the seal and leave the ancient battleground. I can recover my power. Ha ha ha. God is helping me. God is helping me. The green shadow looked very excited, and its body kept shaking. The green shadow and the 10 blood Kirins ignored Yifei and the others. Without the suppression of their powers, Yifei and the others were able to leave. Yifei and the others were curious, but in a life-and-death situation like this, no one wanted to take the risk. They had finally found a chance to leave. If they didn't leave now, it would be very difficult for them to do so later. In less than 3 seconds, Yifei and the others were gone. Longao didn't chase after Yifei, though. He stayed where he was. He wanted to see who the green shadow was. If it could scare the 10 blood Kirins, it looked like a big fight was about to begin. P.S. I have been very busy these past few days. Little 9 is trying to keep updating. Tomorrow is Monday. Little 9 is going to explode. Chapter 1351. The Peak of Martial Arts? Longao sensed the green shadow's presence, and he was shocked. But then, he shook his head. He didn't think it was possible. How could someone at the peak of martial arts be trapped in the ancient battleground? Plus, Longao could clearly sense that the strength of the green figure was about the same as Long Tian and the others. But for some reason, Longao felt as if the green shadow's power was far greater than Tong Zun's. Are the 10 of you going to surrender obediently, or do you want to suffer some physical pain? The green shadow looked at the 10 blood Kirins with disdain. It didn't seem as if the 10 blood Kirins were a threat to the green shadow. You shameless thing. We are going to kill you. The 10 blood Kirins were furious. They attacked the green shadow. The 10 blood Kirins teamed up. Even Long Tian and the others wouldn't have dared to fight them head-on. After all, the 10 blood Kirins were powerful. But in the end, the 10 blood Kirins teamed up, but they couldn't block a single attack from the green shadow. It was impossible to see how the green shadow had attacked. The shadow flashed, and all 10 of the blood Kirins were injured. What did that mean? The green shadow was able to defeat the 10 blood Kirins in one hit. That proved how powerful the green shadow was. Seeing this situation, Longao also jumped in fright. Longao was sure that the green shadow's power was greater than Tong Zun's. But he didn't know if the green shadow had reached the peak of martial arts. Save them? Or not? Longao was torn. He really wanted to save the 10 blood Kirins. If everything went well, the 10 blood Kirins would help him in the future. That would be great. After thinking about it for a while, Longao decided to help. If he made a mistake, the consequences would be unimaginable. With spatial teleportation, Longao's figure instantly disappeared from where he was. The next second, God is helping me. You guys should accept your fate. I was able to consume your parents' souls. Now, I can consume your souls. That is a wonderful thing. Before the green figure finished speaking, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. He chuckled. Just as Longao prepared to take the 10 blood Kirins away, his face changed. Just as Longao had guessed, the 10 blood Kirins had been sealed. They couldn't leave the red clouds. Fortunately, Longao had made 2 preparations. Otherwise, when Dazed appeared, he would really be killed by the green figure. Long Fu, attack. Just as Longao finished speaking, the dragon seal space released a terrifying aura that enveloped the blood-colored aura. In the next second, the seal on the aura was forcefully broken. If not for the fact that Long Fu had said that he was 100% confident, even if Longao was beaten to death, he would not have dared to make a move so easily. After breaking the seal, Longao did not hesitate at all. "Come with me." The 10 blood Kirans did not want to die so easily. After all, they still had to avenge their parents. If they died so easily, they would be letting their parents down. The 10 blood Kirans hated humans. If this had been any other time, the 10 blood Kirans would have killed Longao already. They wouldn't have waited until now. But things were different now. They had an enemy in front of them. No matter what the humans were thinking, the 10 blood Kirans chose to believe in Longao. They had to leave this place first. As for revenge, they could deal with it later. The 10 blood Kirans were very happy. Although they were strong, they couldn't break the seal. If they had, they wouldn't have been trapped there for so many years. Whoosh! With Longao's power, he couldn't take the 10 blood Kirans with him. But things had come to this point, and Longao seemed to be giving it his all. Because of that, Longao used teleport. Longao grabbed 2 blood Kirans, and the blood Kirans pulled on the other blood Kirans. Looking at the empty space in front of him, the green shadow was frozen. The green shadow had no idea what had happened. He could feel that the person who had saved the 10 blood Kirans was just an Earth God martial artist. An Earth God martial artist had saved 10 blood Kirans from right under his nose. Was this real? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that a small Earth God martial artist would be able to kill him. He cursed in his heart. He had been searching for so many years, and he had finally found his target. But now, his target had run away. He would be lying if he said he wasn't angry. In the ancient battleground, if someone wanted to hide, finding them would be like finding a needle in a haystack. No matter where you run to, I will find you. The green shadow suddenly disappeared, and a sinister laugh was heard. Somewhere in the ancient battleground, there were barren hills and weeds all around. It was very quiet. Longao was lying on the ground. His eyes were closed, and his life force was weak. The 10 blood Kirans surrounded Longao. They all looked serious, and they stared at the human who had just saved them. Longao could teleport by himself, and he could do so easily. He could carry 1 person with him, but if he had to carry 2 people, he would be in trouble. After all, his power was limited. Longao had brought 10 blood Kirans with him, and they were all very strong. Plus, the mysterious green man's presence was interfering. Under those circumstances, Longao was under a lot of pressure. It was more than he could have possibly done. Plus, Longao had used his self-surprise and blood pulse. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have been able to take the 10 blood Kirans with him. At this moment, Longao's situation was very dangerous. It could be said that he was on the verge of death. The reason why he did this was because he wanted to take a good gamble. Once he made the right gamble, it would be very beneficial for the things that would happen later. The primordial battlefield was fraught with danger, but Longao didn't really care about the great balance of forces. Other than the Long Clan and the Martial Art Alliance, he believed that as long as he didn't provoke the other 8 superpowers, the Alchemy Alliance, the Myriad Beasts Sect, the Heaven and Earth Sect, the 5 Elements Sect, the Myriad Array Sect, the Sword Sect, the Purple Thunder Sect, and the Black Heaven Sect, he believed that as long as he didn't provoke them, they wouldn't be so bored as to provoke him. As for the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, Longao was very confident. After what had happened with Yifei and Longbo, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't dare provoke him. No one would think that his life was too long. Longbo and Yifei were both ranked 1st and 2nd on the Earth ranking. They were the 2 strongest people in the Martial Heaven Continent's junior generation. But even so, the 2 of them had been unable to block Longao's attacks. Yifei had even been chased by Longao. Under such circumstances, who would be so blind as to come find trouble with Longao? What a joke. What do you think? Although I hate humans, no matter how you put it, if this person hadn't saved us, we would already be dead. There's no way we can get revenge for our parents or break the seal. Third brother is right. Our cultivation has been stagnant for so many years because of the seal. Now that we have broken the seal and left, I believe that our cultivation speed will increase by leaps and bounds in the future. Our revenge will be just around the corner. All of this is because of this person. If we just stand by and do nothing, wouldn't that be a little too unkind? The other 9 blood Cheelants nodded in agreement. The boss thought for a moment and said, I just checked. This person must have used some kind of secret art to injure his soul and essence blood. Otherwise, with his strength, he wouldn't have been able to take us away. The 10 blood Cheelants had clearly sensed Longao's power. They had already found it hard to believe that Longao had escaped right under their noses. Now, he had used this move again. Even now, the 10 blood Cheelants still didn't understand how he had done it. The 10 blood Cheelants knew that in front of this human, whether it was the 10 of them or Cho Run, they were all incomparably powerful existences. Under normal circumstances, would an Earth God be able to escape right under the nose of a Nirvana realm martial artist? Big brother, are you saying that we should save him? Yes. This person risked his life to save us. He definitely has a goal. But no matter what, he did save us. Our parents taught us that we should repay the kindness of others. Furthermore, he was the one who saved our lives. Let's do it. Longao had made the right bet. If the 10 blood Cheelants hadn't helped him, Longao wouldn't have been able to survive. Longao had used teleportation to take the 10 blood Cheelants, and that had damaged his foundation. If he had relied on himself, he wouldn't have been able to recover. Now that he had the help of the 10 blood Cheelants, it was only a matter of time before he recovered. Not only that, but the 10 blood Cheelants wanted to repay Longao for saving them. Aside from helping him recover his strength, they were also going to give him some benefits. The power of the 10 blood Cheelants slowly entered Longao's body. His damaged blood, soul, and essence started to recover quickly. In less than an hour, the essence, blood, and soul he had lost had been completely restored. But the 10 blood Cheelants didn't plan on stopping. They continued to pour power into Longao's body. Longao was only an earth god. He hadn't even reached the peak. There were 5 levels of the god path, and there were no divisions. That meant that earth gods didn't have beginner, intermediate, or advanced levels. There were only 2 levels, earth god and peak earth god. Longao's presence started to change. With the help of the 10 blood Cheelants, his earth god territory started to change. It started to change from an earth god territory to a sky god territory. If that happened, Longao's cultivation would go from earth god to sky god. Then, Longao's cultivation speed would be very scary. Longao hadn't thought that saving the 10 blood Cheelants would result in something like this. Chapter 1352. There were 5 levels of the God Path: Empty God Realm, Focus God Realm, Human God Realm, Earth God Realm, and Sky God Realm. The advancement of each realm was a qualitative transformation. If an Earth God wanted to break through to Sky God Realm, the first step was to transform the Earth God Realm into a Sky God Realm. This was both difficult and simple at the same time. Some Earth God Realm martial artists could transform their Earth God Realm into a Sky God Realm in less than a year. However, for some Earth God cultivators, not to mention 1 year, even if they spent 10 years or 100 years, they might not be able to transform their Earth God Realm into a Heavenly God Realm. That was the difference between people. Like now, an ordinary person wouldn't have been able to go from Earth God Realm to Sky God Realm in a few hours, even if they had the help of 10 blood Kirans. They wouldn't have been able to transform their Earth God Realm into a Sky God Realm, but Longao had done it. In less than 6 hours, Longao had completely transformed the Earth God's divine realm in his body into Heavenly God's divine realm. This in itself already showed how powerful Longao's innate talent and cultivation speed were. Thank you, elders. Longao was pleasantly surprised. He hadn't expected to make the right bet. For Longao, breaking through from Earth God Realm to Heavenly God Realm was simply too important. One step, only one step. Longao was very clear in his heart that his cultivation had already successfully broken through to the Heavenly Deity Realm. He was only a step away from the Supreme Divine Tao. The Supreme Tao Realm and the Supreme Tao Realm were 2 completely different realms. The eldest blood Kiran nodded and smiled. Longao, thank you so much for your help. If it weren't for you, we would have been taken away by our enemies. No matter how much the 10 blood Kirans hated humans, The young man in front of them had saved them. So, the 10 blood Kirins were sincerely grateful to Longao. Longao could feel that. Actually, Longao hadn't risked his life to save the 10 blood Kirins because he was a good person. As the saying goes, every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Longao didn't think he was a saint, so he had saved the 10 blood Kirins for himself. If it was outside, whether or not Longao would still do this was truly an unknown. However, in the primordial battlefield, Longao resolutely made a move. The reason was simple. Longao had risked his life to save the 10 blood Kirins because he wanted the 10 blood Kirins to help him. After all, the ancient battleground was a dangerous place. Although Mr. God predicted that the ancient battleground would be the weakest it had ever been, it was still a dangerous place. If it were that easy, so many people would not have died in the primordial battlefield. Bo. In the end, Longao had made the right bet. Seniors, truth be told, the reason why I risked my life to save you all earlier was not because I was kind-hearted or because of some other reason. My true goal was to have the 10 seniors help me. To tell the truth, Longao did not beat around the bush. From Longao's point of view, it was better to be direct than to be secretive. Of course, when they heard Longao's honesty, the 10 blood Kirins were not angry. They were shocked. They looked at each other. The 10 blood Kirins could see the shock in each other's eyes. The blood Kirin leader nodded approvingly. He smiled and said, Longao, we like your honesty. Since you saved us, you can make a request. As long as it is not too much, we will do our best to satisfy you. Hansen was very happy. This was what Longao wanted. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. Senior, I entered the ancient battlefield this time for the opportunity in the ancient Forbidden Land. To be honest, I don't dare to enter the ancient Forbidden Land alone. If he had the help of the 10 blood Kirins, Longao wanted to minimize the risk. He didn't seem surprised. The 10 blood Kirins guessed that Longao would do this. After all, a human had entered the ancient battleground for the ancient battleground's opportunities. The opportunities in other parts of the ancient battleground were difficult to obtain. They were not as good as the ancient battlegrounds. The 10 blood Kirins did not immediately agree. They looked a bit serious. The blood Kirin leader hesitated, and then he said, Longao, the ancient battleground is very dangerous. It's not just you. Even we, and our father's killer, do not dare enter the ancient battleground. Do you know why? I do not know. Please tell me. Longao was very curious. He did not know what was in the ancient battleground, but he knew for sure that the dangers of the ancient battleground were not something ordinary people could survive. After all, the 10 blood Kirins were afraid of it. But Longao did not back down. Things had already come to this point. Was he going to avoid going to the ancient battleground? Aside from agreeing to Tongzun's request, Longao also wanted to go to the ancient battleground. After all, Master Clairvoyant had come to make a prediction himself. He knew what the ancient battleground was like. Longao was curious. Had Master Clairvoyant been to the ancient battleground? Otherwise, how could Master Clairvoyant have known about the ancient battleground's forbidden lands? Longao had an intuition that the clairvoyant master did not rely on the Tao of divination to predict the location of the ancient forbidden land. Instead, he had entered the ancient battlefield. However, unless the clairvoyant master said it himself, no one would know. Everyone on the Martial Heaven continent trusted Master Clairvoyant. Even if Master Clairvoyant said that a deer was a horse, there would probably be people who would believe him. Longao, the primordial battlefield was a place where countless experts fought during the ancient times. There are many remnant souls here. As for us, we followed our master to fight and were sealed here, unable to leave. If I'm not mistaken, the primordial forbidden land that you mentioned just now should be the place where the primordial battlefield is sealed. Hence, as long as someone goes near the forbidden land, he will be attacked by the forbidden land, which is also the attack of the seal. So that's what it was. This directly told Longao that the blood Kirin was telling the truth. If that was the case, then Master Clairvoyant's prediction that the ancient battleground was at its weakest meant that the ancient battleground seal was also at its weakest. At that time, if everyone rushed to the ancient battleground, Wouldn't the martial heaven continent suffer a calamity if they broke the seal and the countless remnant souls of the ancient battleground left? Let alone the remnant souls, just the powerful divine beasts of the primordial battlefield were something that Longao was very clear about. Once they entered the martial heaven continent, the impact would be immense. What was the god diviner trying to do? Was Master Clairvoyant doing this on purpose? Longao really didn't understand Master Clairvoyant. It was as if everyone was a chess piece, including the heavenly Das. Only the heavenly Das were the ones controlling the chessboard. Chapter 1353. Longao, if you want to go to the ancient Forbidden Lands, we can help you. When he heard this, Longao was overjoyed. He knew that the ancient Forbidden Lands were dangerous, but Longao was still determined to go. Longao believed in one thing. Opportunities and dangers coexisted. Without danger, how could there be opportunities? Longao, we will not enter the ancient Forbidden Lands. With regards to this, Longao was not surprised at all. The ancient Forbidden Lands were dangerous. The 10 blood Kirans would not risk their lives for him. Elder, my request is simple. I just want you to send me to the ancient Forbidden Lands. No problem. Since things had come to this point, Longao did not insist. As for Yifei, the ancient battlefield was vast. Trying to find a single person was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Longao did not want to waste time on Yifei. Longao was very confident. After what had happened, he believed that Yifei would not provoke him again, even if he was given 10,000 guts. Longbo and Yifei were both dead and injured. Longao sighed in relief. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family were going to the ancient battlefield. Yifei and Longbo were the leaders. He did as he thought. Longao immediately followed the 10 blood Kirans to the ancient Forbidden Lands. According to Longao's estimations, under normal circumstances, it would not be easy for him to reach the primordial battlefield smoothly. Because of this, Longao had risked his life to save the 10 blood Kirans. He wanted to use the blood Kiran's power to reach the ancient Forbidden Lands. Just like that, Longao and the 10 blood Kirans rushed to the ancient Forbidden Lands as fast as they could. Along the way, the 10 blood Kirans kept helping Longao. They hoped to increase their cultivation along the way. Longao took advantage of this period of time to stabilize the celestial god realm that he had just broken through. Unfortunately, for 3 whole days, Longao's cultivation did not continue to break through, but only completely stabilized. Even so, Longao was very satisfied. According to Longao's previous estimation, it would take him at least half a year to a year to break through from the Earth God stage to the Sky God stage. But now, to break through from the Earth God stage to the Heavenly God stage in just 2 months, what kind of concept was this? Longao was not greedy. Longao was also self-aware. Now that he had broken through to the Heavenly God realm, he was only 1 step away from reaching the Supreme Divine Realm. Longao, this is as far as we can go. 100 meters ahead is the ancient Forbidden Grounds. You have to be careful. If we have the chance to get out in the future, we will thank you very much. Thank you, Senior. Longao did not hesitate in the slightest as he immediately turned around and left. The main purpose of entering the ancient battlefield this time was to enter the ancient Forbidden Grounds. Now that he had finally arrived, how could Longao give up so easily? Primordial battlefield. Inside the ancient Forbidden Grounds. The ancient Forbidden Land was a barren land. It was surrounded by rocks and weeds. Small black tornadoes constantly swept through the barren land around it. It looked extremely strange, barren and cold. As soon as Longao stepped into the ancient Forbidden Grounds, he felt a chilly wind blowing past. Even he could not help but shudder. Tong Zun? Long Tian? As soon as he stepped in, Longao saw 2 figures shuttling around the ancient Forbidden Grounds. Longao's heart was in turmoil. How did Tong Zun and Long Tian come in? Everyone knew that Nirvana Realm martial artists were not allowed to enter the ancient battlefield according to the restrictions. Otherwise, why had not a single Nirvana Realm martial artist entered the ancient battlefield after so many years? How did Tongzun and Long Tian do it? After thinking about it, Longao could not figure out the reason. His face was solemn. Longao was not afraid of Yifei and Longbo at all. Only Tongzun and Long Tian were not only in the Nirvana realm, but their strength was also above the Nirvana realm. They were only one step away from reaching the peak of the martial way. Longao hid his body. Under such circumstances, Longao certainly would not choose to fight them head-on because his main purpose was to enter the ancient battlefield and obtain his own opportunity. The ancient forbidden grounds was desolate. Everywhere was desolate. At a glance, it gave off a hellish feeling. Tongzun and Long Tian looked around coldly. Their faces were extremely gloomy, and they were as ugly as they could be. The two of them successfully suppressed their strength and successfully entered the ancient battlefield. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed since the two of them stepped into the ancient forbidden land. But what was the result? No matter how hard they searched, they could not find the entrance to the ancient forbidden grounds. Were they going to wait forever? Brother Long, what should we do now? Tongzun was very depressed because he had always believed in Long Tian. After all, Long Tian had been preparing for 10,000 years. In the end, he never expected that Long Tian would only be able to bring him into the primordial battlefield. If he couldn't enter the primordial forbidden grounds, wouldn't he have come for nothing? Both of their cultivations had successfully reached the peak of the Nirvana realm, and other opportunities were no longer important to them. In fact, the thing that both of them wanted the most after entering the primordial battlefield this time was none other than the origin source energy. Once the two of them found the origin energy and merged it, they would break through to the peak of the martial way. Although the Nirvana realm and the peak of the martial way were only one realm apart, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. They were not on the same level at all. It could be said that the peak of the martial way, such as the divine mathematician and the heavenly Tao, could be said to be the rulers of the sky martial continent. All the Nirvana realm martial artists in the sky martial continent combined were not a match for the divine mathematician and the heavenly Tao. It could be imagined how big the difference was between the Nirvana realm and the peak of the martial way. I have researched for 10,000 years, but I am still not confident. If you give me another 100 years, I am confident that I can find the entrance. This is also the reason why I am not willing to enter despite the divine mathematician's prediction. Anything can happen in 100 years. Since we have already entered, let's take a risk. Once we break through, the sky martial continent will be ours. Hearing Tongzun's words, Long Tian nodded in agreement. He suddenly smiled and said, "Brother Tong is right. The heavenly Tao wants to change the situation of the continent. 100 years can change a lot of things. If we are killed by the heavenly Tao, even if I can research it, what can I do? I might as well take a risk. Since we have already entered the ancient forbidden grounds, I believe that we can definitely find the entrance. P.S. Everyone, please don't scold me. I have something to do today. Today's eruption will be moved to tomorrow. Tonight, Little Nine will stay up late and try to get more information tomorrow. I hope everyone can forgive me." Chapter 1354. The Nirvana realm was always the Nirvana realm. It was never the pinnacle of martial arts. The threat of the way of heaven was always there. Both Long Tian and Tongzun were afraid of the way of heaven. They were afraid of it because they did not know when the way of heaven would attack them. If the way of heaven attacked, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family would not stand a chance. They would all disappear from the Tianwu continent. That was why Long Tian and Tongzun did not want to be passive. They entered the primordial battlefield. They wanted to see if they could find the origin energy and combine it to break through to the pinnacle of martial arts. In the distance, although Longao's cultivation was only at the celestial deity realm, he was able to hear the conversation between the two. He was shocked. Longao could sense that Tongzun and Long Tian were not at the pinnacle of the Nirvana realm. They were only at the pinnacle of the Emperor God realm. Although they were stronger than Yifei and Longbo, they were still at the pinnacle of the Emperor God realm. What was going on? Were they suppressing their powers? Other than this reason, Longao really could not think of a second reason. Longao smiled and shrugged his shoulders. He knew what it meant for them to suppress their powers and enter the primordial battlefield. The primordial battlefield was full of danger. There were Nirvana realm remnant souls and Nirvana realm divine beasts everywhere. If they met any of them, they would be in danger. Even so, the two of them still suppressed their powers and entered the primordial battlefield. It looked like they were going for broke. If they got it right, they would be able to reach the pinnacle of martial arts and fight against the way of heaven. If they got it wrong, they might not even be able to leave the primordial battlefield alive. They might not even be able to reach the pinnacle of martial arts and fight against the way of heaven. Longao's face also became a little solemn. He knew that if Tong Zun and Long Tian could not find the entrance to the primordial forbidden ground must be hidden. Longao had asked the 10 blood Kirans where the entrance to the primordial forbidden ground was. Unfortunately, the 10 blood Kirans did not know where the entrance to the primordial forbidden ground was. They were in big trouble. Longao didn't show himself because he knew how much trouble he would be in if the two of them discovered him. As long as he followed the two of them and found the entrance, it would be equivalent to him finding the entrance himself. Watch the fire from the other side of the river and reap the benefits from it. From the beginning to the end, Tong Zun and Long Tian didn't know that their common enemy had been following them. If the two of them knew about this, what would they think? Tong Zun and Long Tian didn't waste any time. They immediately continued to search for the entrance to the ancient forbidden grounds. The ancient forbidden lands covered a vast area. As far as the eye could see, it was a desolate land. 3 days later, Tong Zun, Long Tian, and even Long Ao couldn't find the entrance to the ancient forbidden grounds. However, at this moment, people were rushing over from all directions. All of them were from the 10 direction cauldrons, including Yi Fei. There were more than 10,000 people from the 10 direction tripod who had entered the ancient battlefield. However, in just a few dozen days, half of the 10,000 people had been lost, which was a total of 5,000 people. What did that mean? One should know that most of the people who had entered the ancient battlefield were in the Supreme Tao realm. There were Empty God realm warriors, Spirit Focus realm warriors, Hierarch realm warriors, and even Emperor God warriors. It could be said that the 10,000 people who had entered the ancient battlefield were the elites of the Tianwu continent. Every one of them lost was one of them. If it was outside, losing 5,000 Supreme Tao and Supreme Tao warriors in 10 days would shake the entire Tianwu continent. However, in the ancient battlefield, not to mention losing 5,000 people, even if all of them were lost, it would be a matter of course. There was nothing to be surprised about. That was the danger of the ancient battlefield. The 5,000 people arrived at the ancient battlefield one after another. When everyone saw Tong Zun and Long Tian, they were dumbfounded. They didn't know why the two old ancestors were there. Everyone knew. Nirvana realm warriors were unable to enter the ancient battlefield. If that was the case, how did Long Tian and Tong Zun enter? Many people had already guessed that the main reason why the two ancestors were able to enter the ancient battlefield was that the two ancestors had forcefully suppressed their strength. Otherwise, if a Nirvana realm martial artist entered the ancient battlefield, only death would await them. They would not even have the slightest chance of survival. Old ancestors. Seeing the old ancestor, Yi Fei was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. Ever since he was chased by Long Ao, Yi Fei was already scared to the extreme. Along the way, he was always careful, afraid that he would see Long Ao and be chased again. You have seen Long Ao? The two of them entered the primordial battlefield this time, not only to search for the origin energy, but more importantly, to kill Long Ao. Seeing Yi Fei's expression, the two of them were almost certain that Yi Fei had definitely seen Long Ao before. As expected, old ancestors, I have indeed seen Long Ao. In the following time, Yi Fei roughly explained everything that had happened before. Yi Fei only briefly skipped over the matter of him being chased by Long Ao. After all, this matter was too shameful. Even he himself was embarrassed to say it. Tong Zun and Long Tian were sly old foxes. How could they not understand the meaning behind Yi Fei's words? The two of them were very surprised. They knew the difference between Yi Fei and Long Ao. Could Long Ao kill Yi Fei by himself? If Yi Fei hadn't said it himself, the two of them wouldn't have believed it. Both of them knew that Longao had many secrets. Longao definitely couldn't do it with his strength alone. However, there were too many variables in Longao. Brother Long, what do you think? Long Tian cursed in his heart. Originally, everything was under his control. However, Longao was too unpredictable and was completely out of his control. It was also because of this reason that Longao wanted to kill Longao at all costs just in case. Since we have already entered, let's kill Longao. No matter what happens, we can't let him leave the ancient battlefield alive. Longao was too unpredictable and couldn't be left alive. Tongzun obviously knew what Long Tian meant. He also had the same idea. He smiled and said, Longao, I don't believe that he can leave the ancient battlefield alive. Looking at the two old ancestors in front of him, Tian said helplessly, Old ancestors, Longao's strength isn't that great. However, the mysterious expert beside him is very powerful. If I'm not wrong, the mysterious expert should be a Nirvana realm martial artist. With our current strength, Yifei didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning in his words was very clear. P.S. 3 chapters today, 10 chapters tomorrow. Stay up all night tonight. Brothers of the same level can wait. Chapter 1355. Mysterious Expert? Tongzun and Long Tian turned solemn when they heard what Yifei said. They had overlooked the mysterious expert beside Longao. Just like what Yifei had said, Longao alone was nothing to worry about. According to what Yifei had said, the mysterious expert might be a Nirvana realm warrior. What could the mysterious expert do if they were outside? Tongzun and Long Tian were confident that they would be able to kill Luo Yunyang in a 2-on-1 situation. But now? They were in the ancient battlefield, and they had suppressed their powers to enter the ancient battlefield. In other words, they were no longer Nirvana realm martial artists, but God Emperor martial artists. How could Emperor gods compare to Nirvana realm warriors? It was a complete joke. Tongzun and Long Tian were sure that they would definitely die if they met a Nirvana realm warrior. They would be lying if they said that they weren't worried. Brother Tong, it would be hard for us to win if we were to fight them head-on. Tongzun nodded. He knew about it too. If so, let's not bother about Longao. Let's see how we can find the entrance. From the beginning to the end, both Tongzun and Long Tian didn't take the 5,000 people seriously. Their goal was to find the origin energy. Even if the 5,000 people obtained the origin energy, it wouldn't be of any use. In other words, only when a Nirvana realm martial artist obtained the origin energy and successfully fused with it, would they be able to break through the final bottleneck and reach the so-called peak of the martial way. As for the other opportunities, they wouldn't interfere if they could give it to others. Of course, the 5,000-plus people were well aware of the two's intentions. So, when everyone saw Tongzun and Long Tian enter the ancient forbidden grounds, after a short moment of shock, they weren't too surprised. They knew that the two of them wouldn't fight with them for the opportunities as they wanted different things. Everyone, listen up. Everyone looked at the two of them when they heard what Long Tian said. Under such circumstances, everyone had tacitly agreed that Long Tian and Tongzun were the leaders. Even though the two of them had suppressed their powers and were only in the realm of Emperor God, everyone knew clearly that once the battle started, no one would be able to win against the two of them. We are looking for opportunities in the ancient forbidden land. From now on, we have a common enemy, and we hope to find the entrance. Yes, 10 sides stood like a tripod, fighting openly and covertly. However, at the moment, everyone from the 10-direction cauldron was listening to the orders of Tongzun and Long Tian. In the next moment, everyone started to look for the entrance. The power of 1 or 2 people couldn't be compared to the power of 5,000 people. They weren't on the same level. Tongzun and Long Tian looked at each other, and they were surprised. It wasn't easy to find the entrance to the ancient forbidden land with just the two of them alone. However, things were much better now. With the help of 5,000 people, the chances of finding the entrance were much higher. Long, we can't let anyone know about this. Once we find the source energy, we'll kill everyone here, including your people and mine, without mercy. Hearing the old ancestor and Long Tion's words, Yi Fei was shocked. Silence. The two of them were clear. In order to keep the secret, they were willing to kill everyone here. Am I not going to be spared? Tong Zun seemed to know what Yi Fei was thinking. He smiled and said, Yi Fei, make a blood oath later. Yi Fei was overjoyed. Yi Fei wasn't a fool. He knew what Tong Zun meant. As long as he didn't die, he was willing to do anything, let alone make a blood oath. Yes, the reason why the two of them wanted to do this was simple. It turned out that, even if the two of them got the Nirvana realm and devoured it, they wouldn't be able to refine it in a short time. No one knew how long it would take. Because of that, the two of them weren't confident that they could refine and integrate the Nirvana realm in a short time. If the other old men were to cause trouble at this time, it would affect them greatly. In order to prevent any mistakes, the two of them decided to kill everyone here, including the disciples of the Martial Artists Alliance and the disciples of the Long family. In order to reach the pinnacle of martial arts, the two of them didn't care about the disciples of their own sections. Even if it was their family, their wives, and children, they wouldn't hesitate to kill anyone on the path to the pinnacle of martial arts. That was the temptation of reaching the pinnacle of martial arts. In the distance, seeing so many people looking for the entrance, Longao had no choice but to leave the ancient forbidden land slowly. The strength of 5,000 people was no small matter. Even if Longao was confident, he would definitely be discovered. Once he was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to leave the ancient forbidden land alive if Tong Zun and Long Tian worked together. Brother Long, my sister and I have sensed the entrance to the ancient forbidden land. Longao, who had just left the ancient forbidden land, was extremely surprised when he heard Bai Ling's words. It was as if he had found it without any effort. He was worried about how to find the entrance to the ancient forbidden land, but he didn't expect that Bai Ling and Xiling had already found it. Where is it? Longao was a little impatient. He wasn't interested in the origin energy because Longao had decided to rely on his own strength to reproduce the so-called origin energy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to give up the origin energy back then. If Longao had chosen to refine and integrate the origin energy back then, he believed that he would be able to break through the Nirvana realm and reach the pinnacle of martial arts in less than 100 years. However, in the end, Longao still chose to give up. Once this matter was known by others, he would probably be scolded by everyone. They would scold Longao for being a prodigal. Brother Long, looking at the anxious Brother Long, Bai Ling sighed deeply and said helplessly, Brother Long, to be honest, there are dangers everywhere in the ancient forbidden land. Even if the seal is at its weakest now, once you enter, you will be doomed if you are careless. Do you really want to go in? Until now, Bai Ling still didn't want Longao to enter the ancient forbidden land. How could Longao not know about Bai Ling's worries? A warm current flowed through his heart. However, since things had come to this point, he couldn't choose to give up. Opportunities were given to those who were prepared. As the saying goes, no danger, no opportunity. Chapter 1356. Bai Ling, don't worry about me. I'm confident that I can leave the primordial battlefield alive. Bai Ling knew Longao's character very well. Longao wouldn't change his mind once he had decided on something. Longao, the entrance to the ancient forbidden place, is right under Tong Zun and Long Tian's feet. Longao was a little shocked when he heard Xiling mention the entrance to the ancient forbidden grounds. He had never imagined that the entrance to the ancient forbidden grounds would be right under their feet. Even if Tong Zun and Long Tian were beaten to death, they wouldn't expect the entrance to be right under their feet. With this, Longao started to feel troubled. Longao knew that although he knew where the entrance was, it was almost impossible for him to enter. What should he do? As though he knew what Longao was thinking, Xiling said, Longao, it's fine even if they enter the ancient forbidden place together. What do you mean? Longao was curious. Why was it fine for Tong Zun and Long Tian to enter the ancient forbidden place? Was there something fishy going on? Longao, I believe you already know that the ancient forbidden place is actually the place where the primordial battlefield was sealed. It's dangerous inside. Even if everyone enters, it's uncertain if they'll be able to come out alive. Only those who were alive could enter, and those who weren't. Longao understood what Xiling meant. He smiled as he knew what he should do. Longao didn't hesitate at all. It wouldn't do him any good to drag things out for too long. In the ancient forbidden place, Tong Zun and Long Tian stood where they were as they scanned their surroundings. With the help of more than 5,000 people, they didn't have to do it themselves. The two of them had decided that if the 5,000 people couldn't find the entrance, it would mean that they weren't alive and they could only choose to leave. They wouldn't give up until the very last moment. Longao? Looking at the black-clothed young man with blood-red hair, the two of them felt quite shocked. They did not know why Longao would appear here. Could it be that their eyes were playing tricks on them? The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain the two felt. Tong Zun, Long Tian, how have you been? Seeing Longao suddenly appear, everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at Longao. Was Longao not afraid of death? Could it be that Longao was really so confident? Everyone was dumbfounded. Many of them admired Longao very much. They asked themselves, if they were in his shoes, would they have the courage to show up? Longao, you're really arrogant. He wasn't worried at all. He smiled. Longao looked coldly at the two people in front of him, ignoring everyone around him. In Longao's opinion, as long as Long Tian and Tong Zun didn't make a move, he believed that no one would dare to make a move. Cut the crap. You guys entered the primordial battlefield because you want to enter the ancient forbidden ground. You know the entrance? The two of them weren't fools. Since Longao had already said so, they would be speechless if they still couldn't figure it out. Nodding with a smile, Longao said, Tong Zun, Long Tian, you and I both want to enter the ancient forbidden ground. Since I know the entrance, let's enter together. However, you guys have to agree to one condition. What condition? Even if Longao knew the entrance, the two of them didn't immediately agree to Longao's condition because they didn't know what Longao would ask for. If Longao told them to go and die, would they really go and die? Longao smiled again. His face was filled with disdain and contempt, and even more disdain. Before leaving the primordial battlefield, you guys can't do anything to me. It's that simple. Tong Zun and Long Tian didn't seem to believe Longao's condition. Was Longao that simple? It's that simple. The two of them stared at the youth in front of them. Don't agree? The two of them were very depressed. They had forcefully suppressed their strength and risked their lives to enter the primordial battlefield. If they couldn't find the entrance and enter the ancient forbidden ground, wouldn't they have come in vain? Furthermore, they would have wasted a rare opportunity. If the two of them obtained the source energy and broke through to the peak of the martial path, would they still care about Longao? Thinking of this, the two of them sneered inside. How could Longao not know how shameless the two of them were? If source energy was so easy to obtain, Tian Dao and Master Godly Mathematician wouldn't be the only ones in the Tianwu continent who had broken through to the peak of the martial path. Longao, we can agree to it. If you don't believe us, we can make a blood oath. Longao waved his hand. Longao looked very generous. He said, I believe you. Longao didn't waste time talking nonsense. He walked over to Tong Zun and Long Tian and pointed at their feet. What a bunch of trash. The entrance to the ancient forbidden ground is down there. Before anyone could react, Longao turned around and looked at Yifei. Yifei's expression changed. He was really afraid of Longao. An ordinary person wouldn't dare do anything to him in front of the two ancestors. But Longao wasn't safe. Yifei, consider yourself lucky. Those 4 simple words made Yifei's expression even more gloomy. Many people had witnessed Longao chasing after him. Many of them were angry at Longao. If he hadn't been lucky, 50 of them would have died at the hands of the Blood Kirin. No matter how angry Yifei was, he didn't dare say anything. After all, Yifei wasn't confident. Longao was crazy, and he had dared to cause trouble in the Martial Artists Alliance twice. Why wouldn't he dare do something to him in front of the two ancestors? That was almost impossible. Yifei heaved a sigh of relief in his heart because the mysterious expert beside Longao was no longer there. Longao, is the entrance to the ancient forbidden ground really below us? Believe it or not, that's up to you. Longao looked annoyed. It didn't seem like he cared about Tongzun and Long Tian at all. Everyone felt a headache coming on. Who were Tongzun and Long Tian? These were two sect masters, the strongest warriors under the heavenly Tao and the divine mathematician in the sky martial continent. However, Longao did not put them in his eyes. He was truly arrogant to the extreme. The two of them believed him. They couldn't think of any reason why Longao would lie to them. Unless Longao was bored and had nothing better to do. It seemed as if Longao wanted to enter the ancient forbidden ground, but they were lucky. The entrance to the ancient forbidden ground was right below them. Longao couldn't enter, and the mysterious elite that had accompanied him was no longer there. Otherwise, why would Longao be so polite as to tell them where the entrance to the ancient forbidden ground was? They didn't believe it. Chapter 1357. The entrance to the Forbidden Land was right beneath their feet. Tongzun and Long Tian looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. They had searched high and low for it, and now they had found it so easily. Longao, do you know how to open the entrance to the Forbidden Land? So what if I know? Longao looked at them coldly. He did not seem to care about them at all. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe that Longao had ignored the two old ancestors. Who were the two old ancestors? They were the strongest martial artists below the peak of martial arts. Even a Nirvana realm martial artist would not dare to offend them, let alone Longao. However, Tongzun and Long Tian were not angry at all. To them, everything was worth it as long as they could obtain the origin energy. As for Longao, the two of them had full confidence. Once the two of them found the origin energy and refined it to reach the peak of martial arts, then a small Longao would be able to kill him at any time. There was a knife hidden in a smile. Tongzun and Long Tian moved aside. Their intentions were clear. Since things had come to this, Longao did not hesitate any longer. He followed the method that Xiling told him. In the next moment, a black whirlwind appeared where Tongzun and Long Tian were standing. Space-time stone door. Everyone was overjoyed when they saw the black whirlwind that suddenly appeared in front of them. It seemed that Longao could really open the entrance to the Forbidden Land. Let's go. Tongzun and Long Tian ignored Longao and led Yifei and the rest into the space-time stone door. In the blink of an eye, everyone had disappeared without a trace. Longao sneered. Similarly, he did not stop at all and followed after. In the ancient Forbidden Land, it was a huge, dark, barren space. As soon as everyone entered, their faces changed. They did not dare to be careless and immediately started to block the surrounding aura. Let's kill Longao first, Brother Tong. We have already promised Longao. If we attack now, it will be. Long Tian didn't continue, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Tongzun sneered. We did not make a blood oath. As long as we don't kill Longao, I won't be confident. In the end, Tongzun was still wary of Longao. The reason was simple. Longao was too unpredictable. Even if he found the origin energy, Tongzun didn't know why, but he was still a little worried. Although this worry was ridiculous, Long Tian's expression was very ugly because if he chose to make a move at this time, wouldn't he become a joke to the people around him? No one else. Except Yig. However, Long Tian was also very clear in his heart that Longao's variable was too great. If this person was not eliminated, it would always be a big trouble in the future. Thinking up to here, even if he had 10,000 unwillingness to make a move in his heart, Long Tian still prepared to kill Longao. What happened? It was unknown if Longao did it on purpose, or if he had already guessed the shamelessness of the two of them. Before the two of them could make a move, another Longao suddenly appeared beside Longao. He looked exactly the same, and even his aura was exactly the same. Mysterious expert? Long Tian, Tongzun, and the others were all dumbfounded when they sensed that the two Longaos were exactly the same. They didn't know what was going on. With what Yi Fei said as an example, the two of them did not dare to make a move casually. It was better to be safe than sorry. According to what Yi Fei said, the mysterious expert beside Longao was most likely a Nirvana realm martial artist. Even if he wasn't, he believed that this person's strength was also very powerful. The two of them did not want to take the risk as they had entered the Forbidden Land. It would be easy to kill Longao. If they made a mistake, forget about getting the origin energy, they might not even be able to leave the Forbidden Land alive. Brother Tong, what should we do now? What else can we do? Tong Zun shrugged helplessly. Glancing at the 5,000 people in the surroundings, the two of them finally decided not to kill now. They would wait until they found the source energy before making a move. Otherwise, if they were to make a move now and fail to find the source energy, wouldn't it be an unnecessary move? Everyone was observing the Forbidden Land. According to legend, there were opportunities everywhere in the Forbidden Land. If one could obtain them easily, not only would his strength increase, but he could also obtain peerless treasures and skills. Not only that, before entering the ancient battlefield, the marvelous mathematician had predicted that the Forbidden Land would be the weakest in the past 10,000 years. It would be 100 times easier to enter the Forbidden Land to obtain opportunities. Precisely because of this, more than 5,000 people shot off in different directions. In just a short while, everyone had disappeared without a trace. Everyone was very clear that only the fated ones could obtain the opportunity. Yi Fei also quickly left to search for their own opportunities. Only 3 people remained. One was Longao, one was Tong Zun, and the last was Longao. Longao, I hope you can leave the Forbidden Land alive. At that time, I hope you'll bring me a new surprise. Tong Zun wanted nothing more than for Longao to die right now. However, he shamelessly said the opposite. Longao looked down on the two of them. He sneered, but didn't say anything. In his heart, wasting any more words with them was just a waste of time. After all, although the two of them were supreme experts of the martial heaven continent, when it came to shamelessness, no one could compare to them. Longao. Tong Zun waved his hand. Longao was obviously a little impatient and said with disdain, I have already seen the shamelessness of the two of you. I also hope that you can find the origin strength, but finding it is one thing. Whether you can refine and fuse it is another thing. Ha ha ha. Following his laughter, Longao's figure slowly vanished. Looking at the figure that was gradually leaving, the two people's faces became uglier and uglier. It was as gloomy as it could get because the two of them did not expect that Longao already knew their purpose of entering the ancient Forbidden Land. It was just as Longao had guessed. Even if they obtained the origin energy, whether or not they could refine it was unknown. If this matter were to be found out by the other Rebirth Realm cultivators, then the other Rebirth Realm cultivators would undoubtedly join forces to deal with them, and it would even draw out the Heaven Dao. At that time, not to mention refining and fusing with the quintessence energy, it was unknown if they would even be able to survive. The more that was the case, the more their hearts grew cold. In order to be absolutely safe, they had to kill everyone, including Longao and Yi Fei. Chapter 1358. In the Ancient Forbidden Lands. The surrounding aura could erode a warrior's divine soul. Everyone had already sensed this. Resisting with all their might, no one's divine soul was successfully corroded. This could be considered a good start. Everyone knew that if it was in the past, less than a third of them would have survived. The reason was simple. The marvelous mathematician had predicted that the ancient Forbidden Lands were at their weakest in the past 10,000 years. In other words, the ancient Forbidden Lands were much less dangerous at this time. Longao entered the ancient Forbidden Lands and flew toward the southeast according to Xiling's guidance. He was so fast that he was like a breeze. Had Xiling entered the ancient Forbidden Lands before? Longao was sure that Xiling and Bai Ling had entered the ancient Forbidden Lands before. However, Longao didn't ask, and Violet Spirit and Bai Ling didn't take the initiative to say either. Both sides were well aware that once some things were made clear, there wouldn't be much meaning. Longao, don't go near the seal. With your current strength, even if the seal is 10,000 times weaker, it can easily kill you. He nodded. Longao was not the slightest bit angry when he heard Ziling's words because he knew very well that what Ziling said was almost always right. Since the seal here could seal the entire primordial battlefield, it was obvious how terrifying it was. Longao was not a fool, and his brain was not flooded with water. Of course, he would not provoke the seal. Longao knew his situation very well. He had successfully broken through to the divine realm and was only one step away from the peak divine realm. Just one step. Once he stepped out, his cultivation would break through to the supreme divine realm. Longao wasn't too ambitious. As long as he could break through to the supreme divine realm in the ancient battlefield, it would be a blessing in disguise. Xiling knew what Longao was thinking. That was why he didn't stop Longao from entering the ancient forbidden lands. If Longao wanted to break the seal, he believed that Xiling would definitely stop him. Sky Martial Continent, 9 Heavens. Master God Diviner coldly stared down at the primordial battlefield, motionless. This time, tens of thousands of people had entered the primordial battlefield, but only a few hundred of them would be able to come out alive. What kind of concept was that? These people were all peak figures of the martial heaven continent. But in the eyes of the clairvoyant, he was nothing. That's right, he was nothing. The God Diviner wasn't just an expert at the peak of the martial path. He was the true #1 expert of the martial heaven continent. Even the heavenly Daos and Long Batian didn't dare to provoke him. In Master God Diviner's eyes, everyone who entered the ancient battlefield, including the Nirvana realm martial artists, was like an ant. Tongzun and Long Tian, you two are really smart. You can even think of such a method. Master God Diviner suddenly laughed. When Tongzun and Long Tian entered the primordial battlefield, they thought that they could deceive everyone. However, they did not expect that Master Clairvoyant was already aware of their every move. If the two of them knew that Master God Diviner knew that they had entered the primordial battlefield, who knew what they would think? The heavenly Daos and Long Batian are always unpredictable. If we can create 2 more peak experts, perhaps things will change. After thinking about it for so many years, Tongzun and Long Tian are the most suitable. I'll give you 2 a chance. If Master God Diviner's words were heard by others, they would probably be frightened to death. Could it be that Master God Diviner could control the number of peak experts and their success or failure? Time trickled by. After an unknown amount of time, Master God Diviner looked into the distance, his face filled with vicissitudes. He looked like an old man who had 1 foot in the grave. As long as Master God Diviner didn't reveal his identity, no one would believe that he was the true #1 expert of the martial heaven continent. 9 Provinces Continent. Dragon Valley. In a secluded courtyard at the back of a mountain. This courtyard was a forbidden area of the Dragon Valley. No matter who it was, even Long Hausher, they wouldn't enter. Every few days, servants would enter to clean it up. Other than that, anyone who dared to enter would be heavily punished by the Dragon Valley. In the courtyard, the environment was very elegant. A burst of fragrance assailed the nostrils. Yuin sat alone by the flower pond, quietly looking at the flowers in front of her. Her face was melancholic and lonely. She didn't have the slightest bit of the charm of a domineering woman in the past. Brother Long, how are you now? Yuin had asked many people about what had happened before. Although no one was willing to tell the truth, she was very clear about what had happened. That was right. Yuin was always worried about Longao. However, from the beginning to the end, Yuin had already decided that no matter what happened, as long as Longao fell, she would pledge her life to follow him. If you don't leave me, I will follow you in life and death. Yuin. Hearing the voice behind her, Yuin sighed in her heart. She forced a smile and said, Grandpa, you're here? Every time Wang Yidao saw his granddaughter like this, he had a deep sense of helplessness. However, he was very supportive of the relationship between Yuin and Longao. If you don't leave me, I will follow you in life and death. Who wouldn't be envious of such a relationship? Yuin, you don't have to worry. Don't you believe in Ao's strength and luck? Believe? If it was in the past, Yuin would believe 100%. However, now, Especially after experiencing the Martial Artists Alliance and the Tianwu continent, Yu Yin's vision was completely different. Others might not know, but how could Yu Yin not know? The Tianwu continent was a tripod of forces. None of them was easy to deal with. Any one of them could easily destroy the Jiuzhou continent. Longao had offended the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance at the same time. She would not believe that nothing would happen to him. Grandpa, Brother Long is now in the Tianwu continent. I am afraid that something will happen to him, so I also want to go to the Tianwu continent. Yu Yin had thought about this decision for a long time. After thinking about it, she was still worried about Longao. Before Wang Yidao could speak, Yu Yin continued, Grandpa, I know you are very worried about me, but Grandpa, my cultivation has reached the Nirvana realm. It is more than enough to protect myself. I believe that I will be able to help Brother Long get through this difficult time. With Wang Yidao's strength, he did not know the specific difference between the Divine Path Realm, the Supreme Divine Path Realm, and the Nirvana Realm. However, in Wang Yidao's eyes, these warriors were supreme existences. However, Wang Yidao was very clear that the Nirvana Realm warriors were the top existences in the whole continent. Until now, he was a little absent-minded. In just a few years, his granddaughter had directly promoted from a Hotian realm warrior to the strongest warrior. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it. Chapter 1359. Yu Yin, I know what you mean. Wang Yidao sighed deeply. Yu Yin risked her life to go to the Tianwu continent. It was impossible for him not to be worried. So what if she was a Nirvana realm warrior? Wang Yidao knew that if his granddaughter stayed in the Nine Heavens continent, she could do whatever she wanted. In the Nine Continents continent, which did not even have a divine realm warrior, no one would dare to provoke a super expert unless they were crazy or kicked in the head by a donkey. Yu Yin, grandfather knows that even if I oppose you going to the Tianwu continent, I believe that you will still insist on it. Therefore, grandfather does not intend to oppose it. However, you have to promise me one thing. You and Longao must return safely. Otherwise, grandfather will not forgive you even if I die. Hearing her grandfather's words, Yu Yin's body could not help but tremble. Yu Yin did not speak. She bit her lips fiercely, trying her best not to cry. She loved her grandfather very much, but she also loved her lover. If Longao was in trouble, she could not just sit here and wait. If it was in the past, she might not act rashly because she knew her own limits. But now, Yu Yin was full of confidence. With her current strength, not to mention the Nine Continents continent, even in the Tianwu continent, she could do whatever she wanted unless she met a Nirvana realm warrior. Yu Yin was obviously anxious. She could not wait to go to the Tianwu continent to find her lover. Therefore, before the next day, Yu Yin took advantage of the darkness to pack up and immediately left the Dragon Valley. She rushed to the Tianwu continent as fast as she could. With Yu Yin's speed, she believed that she would not even need a day to reach the Tianwu continent. Dragon Valley. Wang Yidao and Long Haoshi sat quietly. Their faces were not looking good. Because their grandsons were going to the Tianwu continent, the experts they would face were all super experts of the Tianwu continent. If they were not careful, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. This time, the two children. At this point, Wang Yidao forcefully swallowed his words because he did not know what to say. After all, it was too dangerous for the two of them to go to the Tianwu continent. Furthermore, they could only sit here and wait. They could not do anything else. How could Long Haoshi not be worried about the two of them? The Martial Heaven continent was a place where any random superpower could easily annihilate his two grandsons. However, he understood Longao and Yu Yin's characters. Once they decided on something, they wouldn't change their minds. If it were anyone else, they would have long since run into the 10-directional cauldron and hide as far away as possible. But what about his grandson? Even though he knew that the 10 forces were not to be trifled with, he still chose to go against the Long family in the Martial Artists Alliance. He knew that the 10 forces were not to be trifled with. Brother Wang, my grandson, I don't have to tell you. In just a few years, Ao has grown to such a level. Sometimes, I can't believe it. Is this really Ao? Wang Yidao didn't say anything. At this time, he didn't know what to say. You and I both know Ao's situation. Suddenly, Ao soared like a hidden dragon. If I'm not wrong, Ao must have encountered some kind of opportunity. This is a good thing. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. This time, Ao and Yuin will go to the Martial Heaven continent. I believe that they will be fine. Brother Wang, we must believe in them. Then what should we do now? Wang Yidao seemed to be very anxious. After all, the two of them were his grandsons. He couldn't let anything happen to either of them. If he could go there personally, Wang Yidao believed that he wouldn't hesitate. Wait and see. There's only one thing we can do now, and that is to increase our strength as soon as possible. This way, when the two children and the 10-direction cauldron go to war in the future, we'll be able to help. Otherwise, everything will be nonsense. Increase strength? It was easier said than done. Of course, Wang Yidao knew how difficult it was to increase one's strength, especially in the Dragon Valley. The path of martial arts was against the heavens. One had to be careful at every step. Otherwise, not only would all the previous efforts be wasted, but it would also directly regress. Longao sure knew what Wang Yidao was thinking. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. When Ao left, he left us some good things. As long as we work hard, breaking through to the divine realm won't be a problem. Then, we can use these things to continue to increase our strength." That's good. Wang Yidao wasn't worried about the divine realm at all. This was because they had all inherited the inheritance of the divine realm. As long as they had enough time and worked hard, he believed that all of them would be able to reach the divine realm. Next, Longao led everyone in the Dragon Valley to start cultivating. This was because everyone knew that as the feud between Longao, the Long family, and the Martial Artists Alliance continued to escalate, they believed that a battle was inevitable. In this case, they had to be fully armed, hoping to help Longao. Tianwu Continent, ancient battlefield. Longao was very careful. He focused all of his attention and continued to search for the so-called opportunity. Until now, he still did not know what the so-called opportunity was. He had asked Violet Spirit, but Violet Spirit had not said anything from the beginning to the end. Longao felt as if he had entered a maze, and he almost fainted. The ancient forbidden land was too big, and there were chi currents everywhere that corroded the soul. He couldn't be careless, or it wouldn't be good for him. Xiling, what should I do now? Unknowingly, Longao had already arrived in front of a huge black stone tablet. The entire tablet was emitting a strange chi current that was corroding his soul at an unbelievable angle. Longao was startled. He did not dare to be careless. He immediately began to circulate the energy in his body. He continuously rejected the strange airflow emitted by the black stone tablet. As he went in and out, Longao discovered that his breathing had become somewhat rapid. Longao, hurry up and circulate the firmament-devouring art. This chi current is very beneficial to you. Remember, after you devour it, don't refine it. Store it all in your dantian. I'll tell you what to do later. Longao naturally wouldn't be careless in this situation. He immediately circulated the firmament-devouring art. The firmament-devouring art came from the primal chaos stone tablet, and it possessed terrifying power. However, with Longao's current strength, he was unable to unleash the full power of the firmament-devouring art. Even so, the firmament-devouring art was enough to devour the strange energy coming from the black stone tablet. As soon as he used the firmament-devouring art, a black whirlpool appeared behind Longao. Longao had also gone crazy. He was operating the firmament-devouring art crazily. The black vortex was devouring the strange power around it. It was so fast that it was like the wind was blowing. It was too abnormal. Just as Xiling had said, with the help of the firmament-devouring skill, it was more than enough to devour the strange energy in the surroundings. Longao was overjoyed. He circulated the firmament-devouring skill even more vigorously to devour the strange energy in the surroundings. Xiling, how long will it take to devour it? Longao was very uncomfortable with this situation. He always thought that he was like a chess piece that was controlled by Xiling. Longao didn't like this feeling, but he had no choice. After all, Xiling was very familiar with the ancient Forbidden Land. If he didn't help him, he might not even be able to leave here alive, let alone obtain the opportunity. Strength. It was still strength. Longao was very clear that no matter where he went, strength was the most important thing. Without strength, no matter what time it would be a tragedy. Just like now, he didn't have the slightest strength to resist. He had to listen to whatever Xiling said. It was really a pain in the ass. Longao cursed fiercely in his heart. There was no other way. He didn't have enough strength now. However, Longao wasn't worried. He was very confident in himself. He believed that it wouldn't take long for him to reach the Nirvana realm. He would rely on his own efforts and talent to reach the so-called peak of martial arts. Longao, devour as much as you can. The more you devour, the better it will be for you. Not only will it increase your strength, once the energy you devour is integrated into your divine realm, I believe that you will be an invincible existence in the divine realm. You can even kill a peak divine realm expert instantly. Damn, it would be a lie if Longao said that he wasn't surprised. After all, who wouldn't want to be able to kill a divine realm expert instantly? Longao was confident that he could kill a peak divine realm expert with his current strength. However, he still couldn't kill a peak divine realm expert instantly. Invincible in the divine realm. Longao already knew that. He believed that the strange airflow he was devouring was definitely not simple. After all, with Xiling's strength, he valued the strange airflow so much. There was no need to talk about other things. Since that was the case, Longao naturally chose to believe in Xiling. This was because he knew that if Xiling wanted to harm him, he would have had many opportunities before. There was no need for him to wait until now. Devour. According to Xiling's instructions, Longao crazily circulated the firmament devouring art. The black vortex devoured the strange airflow around him at an increasingly fast speed. In the end, even Longao's body couldn't be seen clearly anymore. Sister, is Brother Long all right? I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. As for whether Longao can obtain an opportunity, that will depend on his luck and opportunity. Even I can't help him. Hearing this, Bai Ling was shocked. However, Bai Ling knew that her sister was right. Even if the two of them helped Brother Long find an opportunity, whether he could obtain it or not still depended on him. Even the two of them couldn't do anything. They could only watch helplessly. With a deep sigh, Bai Ling was very worried about Longao. However, there was nothing she could do. Senior Brother Yi, look. At this time, Yifei slowly walked over with dozens of people. One of them suddenly shouted. Yifei's expression changed a little. However, he was only pleasantly surprised. He was as excited as a cheetah that had seen its prey. Chapter 1360. Yifei never thought that he would see Longao at this moment. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. You guys go and test him. If it was in the past, Yifei would definitely not take Longao seriously and would definitely test him personally. But now, with the previous lesson, even if Yifei was given 10,000 guts, he would definitely not dare to casually make a move. It was better to be safe than sorry. If he were to die in Longao's hands, who would he find to reason with? Just in case, Yifei still let his junior brothers try and see what was going on with Longao at this moment. Himself? Hearing that senior brother Yi wanted the four of them to test him, their faces instantly changed. As the saying goes, a man's life is like a tree's shadow. The four of them had heard too many legends about Longao. Especially when Longao chased after Yifei, it was still fresh in their minds. Swallowing their saliva, the four of them hesitated. Oomph! With a heavy snort, Yifei's face instantly turned gloomy. Senior brother Yi, please don't be angry. We'll go now. The four of them shrugged helplessly. Senior brother Yi was famous for being ruthless. Moreover, at this moment, if senior brother Yi wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. The four of them carefully approached Longao. At this moment, the speed at which Longao devoured the strange energy around him became slower and slower. Gradually, Longao's body gradually appeared. If not for this, Yifei and the others would not have been able to recognize Longao. 10 meters, 8 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. When the four of them were less than a third of a meter away from Longao, their bodies suddenly moved. Things had already come to this point. It was either you die or I die. The meaning of the four of them was very clear. With the four of them working together, they did not believe that they could not kill Longao. After all, Longao was only an earth god while the four of them were heavenly gods and divine kings. The four of them working together were very powerful. A series of blood-curdling screams resounded. Before Yifei could react, the four people who were preparing to attack and kill Longao suddenly let out miserable screams that resounded throughout the heaven and earth. What happened? Seeing the four players enveloped by the black streams of energy, aside from their miserable cries, no one knew what was happening to them. It turned out that the black airflow released by the black stone tablet could not only erode a martial artist's divine soul, but it could also erode a martial artist's physical body. Ordinary martial artists, even if they were Supreme Dao martial artists or Supreme Dao martial artists, could not contend against this black airflow. The main reason Longao had been able to resist and devour it was because he had the firmament devouring art from the primal chaos stone tablet. Not only that, after entering the black airflow space, Xiling and Bailing helped him. This was also the real reason why Longao's divine soul and body were not corroded by the black airflow. As for the four of them, the situation was completely different. When they had approached Longao, they had entered the black airflow space. With their strength, how could they resist the corrosion of the black airflow? The result was obvious. Before the four of them could react, they had been devoured by the black airflow. Not even their bones were left. Seeing this, Yifei and the others were shocked. Fear was written all over their faces. Could it be that Longao had been trapped by the black airflow? Thinking of this, Yifei did not leave. Instead, he wanted to use this opportunity to see if he could kill Longao. Senior brother, let's leave. Yifei did not want to leave, but the remaining six were very afraid. They could not wait to leave immediately. The scene of the four of them being swallowed by the black airflow was still vivid in their minds. Yifei shook his head and said with a smile, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We cannot give it up so easily." Looking coldly at Longao, who was dozens of meters away, Yifei's mind began to churn. He wanted to find a way to kill Longao. If Yifei did not leave, the remaining six did not dare to leave. Even if Yifei was one of them, one could not judge a book by its cover. Who knew if Yifei would suddenly go crazy and attack them? Senior brother Yi, what should we do now? The six of them were very depressed. They did not know why they had to deal with Longao. After all, their main purpose in entering the primordial battlefield this time was to find an opportunity, not to deal with Longao. There was no distinction between priority and secondary. Even if the six of them were unhappy and unwilling, they could only be angry and not say anything. Due to their different statuses and strength, they were destined to not dare to say anything. We don't need to take the risk in close range. However, if we attack from a distance, I believe the success rate is very high. Yifei was not sure if Longao was dead or alive. Longao was only shrouded by the black airflow. It was like a huge black vortex. All right. Yifei and the other six did not hesitate and immediately began to attack from a distance. However, in the next second, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared. Before the seven of them could react, Longao's laughter rang out behind them. Time rewind. In a situation where the difference in strength was too great, Longao would not easily use his time sure kill skill. However, the seven of them were too careless to think that he would suddenly disappear. This was the best time to use his time sure kill skill. Not only that, Longao had already devoured the surrounding black airflow to a certain extent. Although it was forcibly stopped by Yifei and the others, Longao was surprised to find that his heavenly god domain, which was a combination of slaughter and lightning, was now completely replaced by the black airflow. In other words, now, Longao's heavenly god domain no longer had the dual attribute aura of lightning and slaughter. Until now, Longao did not know the attribute of the black airflow. He could only temporarily call it a black god domain. According to Xiling, The new divine domain that was formed after devouring the black airflow could be said to be an invincible existence among all the divine domains. Even the supreme divine domain possessed by the supreme divine domain could not compete with the black divine domain. One could imagine how terrifying the black airflow was. The supreme four realms were the divine king realm, divine emperor realm, hierarch realm, and divine emperor realm. The god domain was also divided into four realms, which corresponded to the supreme four realms. They were the divine king realm, divine emperor realm, hierarch realm, and divine emperor realm. These four levels of god domain were known as the supreme god domain. The god domain and the supreme god domain were not at the same level. It was like an insurmountable gap. This was also the biggest gap between supreme god domain and supreme god domain. The fact that a black god domain could compete with a supreme god domain, Longao could say that not many people would believe it. It was completely out of the ordinary. Chapter 1361. The seven of them were shocked. In a normal battle, it was almost impossible for Longao to win against the six of them. But now, Longao had already taken the initiative. The black divine domain, in addition to the time sure kill technique, was completely a sure kill ultimate move. Especially when the seven of them had yet to react, the outcome was obvious. Spatial teleportation. Longao's speed was too fast. Like lightning, he arrived in front of the seven of them in an instant and punched out with both his fists. At the same time, the six people's bodies were also sent flying. Like a kite with a broken string, the six of them crashed into the black stone wall. Without a doubt, the six of them were swallowed by the black stone wall. They didn't even have time to scream. One had to admit that Yi Fei was indeed powerful. Yi Fei took Longao's punch head-on. He didn't move an inch. Longao was a little surprised because he had full confidence in the power of his fists. Even if Yi Fei was a peak emperor god, it was impossible for him to take his punch head-on. Could it be because of the Nirvana realm? Ha ha ha, Longao. Do you really think the Nirvana realm is so weak? Nirvana realm? Hearing those words, Longao was greatly shocked, because he was very clear what the Nirvana realm that Yi Fei spoke of meant. The five realms of the Nirvana realm were divided into Realm of Enlightenment, Heavenly Man, Heavenly Cycle, Fate Calamity, Nirvana, and Rebirth. Strictly speaking, the five realms were Realm of Enlightenment, Unity of Heaven and Man, Heavenly Cycle Multiplication, Fate Calamity, Nirvana, and Rebirth. If one wanted to break through from the God Emperor realm to the Nirvana realm, the first step was also the most important step. That was to comprehend the heaven and earth. This step was the most difficult because countless God Emperor martial artists stopped at this step and were unable to step into the Nirvana realm. Could Yi Fei really have Realm of Enlightenment? If that was the case, wouldn't it mean that Yi Fei had officially entered the Nirvana realm? Impossible. Longao knew clearly that if Yi Fei's cultivation had really broken through from the Emperor God realm to the Nirvana realm, it would be impossible for him to enter the primordial battlefield, let alone stand here, unless they suppressed their strength. However, it was impossible. If suppressing one's strength was as simple as entering the primordial battlefield, anyone could do it. Due to the restrictions of the primordial battlefield, Nirvana realm martial artists were unable to enter. Otherwise, they would be killed by the primordial battlefield. For countless years, the primordial battlefield had been opened so many times, but no one seemed to have been able to enter. Could Yi Fei do it? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Yi Fei sneered. Longao, I'm not afraid to tell you that before I entered the primordial battlefield, my cultivation level was indeed at the peak of the Emperor God realm, and I was half a step into the Nirvana realm. At this point, Yi Fei did not continue. However, Longao already knew what had happened. If nothing went wrong, before Yi Fei entered the primordial battlefield, his cultivation level was only at the peak of the Emperor God realm. Although he was half a step into the Nirvana realm, he was ultimately still not in the Nirvana realm. In other words, after Yi Fei entered the ancient battlefield, he finally comprehended heaven and earth and successfully entered the Nirvana realm. Yi Fei's luck was pretty good. There were endless opportunities in the primordial battlefield, but how many of those who entered the primordial battlefield could obtain them? It was too difficult. If it was so easy to obtain opportunities, they would be too worthless. Ha ha ha, Longao, are you afraid? Looking at the silent Longao in front of him, Yifei suddenly laughed maniacally because he also felt that his luck was simply too good. Just yesterday, he had been unable to comprehend heaven and earth and successfully broke through to the Nirvana realm. Even if he was half a step into the Nirvana realm, he could not be compared to the real Nirvana realm. Once his cultivation level broke through to the Nirvana realm, Yifei was extremely confident that with his current strength, he would be able to deal with Longao easily. In the previous battle, although Longao had killed 6 people with one punch, Yifei did not take it seriously at all. Longao, are you afraid? Longao smiled and said, Yifei, I have to say that your luck is pretty good. However, even if your cultivation level broke through to the Nirvana realm, so what? It would be a lie to say that he was not afraid. Comprehending heaven and earth was the first realm of the Nirvana realm. 5 realms of the Nirvana realm. Once one succeeded in comprehending heaven and earth, they would be able to reproduce the aura of heaven and earth. Nirvana realm warriors were above the supreme divine Tao, and the aura of heaven and earth held a huge advantage. Just as Yifei was about to continue talking nonsense, Longao, who had not moved all this while, suddenly moved. Longao's speed was very fast, but Yifei's strength was no longer the same as before. There was an earth-shattering change. The difference in strength was too great. Longao was very clear that if he wanted to win, he would not be able to kill Yifei even if he used all his trump cards. Let's go. As the saying goes, where there is life, one need not worry about firewood. There would be plenty of opportunities for revenge in the future. There was no need to fight Yifei head-on. Thinking of this, Longao fiercely threw out a punch. After dodging Yifei, he immediately turned and left. In a short while, his figure had already disappeared without a trace. Want to leave? How could Yifei choose to give up such a rare opportunity? However, in the next moment, Yifei's face instantly turned gloomy. It was as ugly as it could be because Longao did not leave. Instead, Yifei flew towards the black stone wall. Yifei abruptly stopped. The lesson of the previous 4 was still vivid in his mind. Although his cultivation had already broken through to the Nirvana realm, Yifei still had self-awareness. If he entered the airflow space released by the black stone wall, he believed that only death would await him. Longao, if you are still a man, come out. I want to see if you are as powerful as the legends say. Longao certainly would not fall for the provocation. If others approached the black stone tablet, they might be swallowed up. However, Longao was not worried at all. He came in front of the black stone tablet and said with a smile, Yifei, weren't you very arrogant just now? I will give you a chance. As long as you come in, not only will I not fight with you, I will even let you capture me. How about it? Hearing Longao's words, Yifei simply wanted to curse in his heart. If he dared to approach the black stone tablet, would he have waited until now? The anger in Yifei's heart was like a volcano that was about to erupt. However, in this case, Yifei was powerless. He seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, Longao, it's okay if you don't come out. I'll guard here. I want to see if you can stay inside for a lifetime. Yifei's heart was filled with anger. Yifei did not continue talking nonsense. He sat on the ground and seemed to have entered a state of cultivation. In front of the black stone tablet, Longao's face was a little solemn. If Yifei continued to guard here, it would be a big problem if he wanted to leave smoothly. Yifei's meaning was very simple. Entering the ancient battlefield was to search for opportunities. Yifei had already successfully comprehended the heaven and earth and broke through to the Nirvana realm. There was no point in continuing. Longao firmly believed that between him and the treasure, Yifei would definitely choose him and not the so-called treasure. It seemed that in Yifei's opinion, he was too big of a threat. Longao, don't worry about him first. You have just devoured the black stream of air. Now is the best time to cultivate. Longao nodded. Since things had already come to this point, he also knew that since he could not leave for the time being, he would cultivate first. If he could use the black stream of air to break through to the supreme divine realm, it would be a blessing in disguise. Xiling, what should I do? Longao had already witnessed the power of the black stream of air. The reason why he could kill 6 people in one move was entirely because of the black stream of air and his time-sure kill technique. If Yifei did not break through to the Nirvana realm, he believed that Yifei would have died at this moment. Longao was looking forward to the black stream of air. Xiling said, Longao, it is easy to refine the black stream of air and even easier to break through to the supreme divine realm. However, I do not plan to do so. Why was that? Longao did not have the slightest bit of excitement, nor did he have the slightest bit of impatience, because he was very clear in his heart that Xiling definitely had her own reasons for doing so. Otherwise, just like what Xiling had said earlier, wanting to borrow the black airflow to break through the supreme Dao realm was simply as easy as flipping one's hand. Because of this, Longao did not speak. Brother Long, my sister's intention is actually very simple. We have to look at the long term. You can slowly refine the black stream of air. Perhaps your speed of improvement in the early stage is not very fast, but it will be very beneficial for you. The further you go, the more benefits there will be. I see. Even Bai Ling said so. Longao of course chose to believe. At this time, he asked, I want to ask, what is the origin of this black stone tablet behind me? Intuition told Longao that the black stone tablet behind him was not simple at all. After all, it could devour 6 supreme divine realm warriors in an instant. Even Yifei did not dare to get close to it. How could the black stone tablet be ordinary? Sister. Xiling, of course, understood her sister's intentions. She sighed helplessly and said, I hope you won't harm him by telling him. What did this mean? Xiling's words made Longao panic. Brother Long, this black stone tablet possesses a terrifying power. Legend has it that this black stone tablet can control a person's mind. You've seen it just now. It's more than enough to kill a supreme divine Dao expert and even a Nirvana realm expert. However, my sister and I have already discussed it. It's up to you whether you're willing to take the risk. Bai Ling, what is going on? Until now, Longao was a little confused. He did not know what Bai Ling and Xiling meant. Was the black stone tablet an opportunity? If so, Longao would certainly choose to take the risk. As the saying goes, danger and opportunity coexisted. Without danger, where would the opportunity come from? Brother Long, the opportunity in the black stone tablet, strictly speaking, is more suitable for your partner, Long Ming. Long Ming. Chapter 1362. Longao was a little surprised. Bai Ling, what's going on? Long Ming and Long Chong sent Yu Yin back to the Dragon Valley and returned as fast as they could. Under normal circumstances, Longao would not summon his 2 companions. After all, both Long Ming and Long Chong were cultivating separately. Brother Long, Long Ming's physique is very unusual. If he can devour the weapon spirit of the black stone tablet, I believe it will bring unexpected benefits to Long Ming. Weapon spirit? Hearing Bai Ling's words, Longao was shocked. He knew very well what a weapon spirit meant. Any treasure that had a weapon spirit was not an ordinary treasure. For example, the dragon seal had nurtured its own weapon spirit, which was the so-called Long Fu. Longao certainly would not give up on something that would benefit Long Ming. Devour the weapon spirit. Is it dangerous? 70%. That's enough. Longao knew Long Ming's character very well. He was almost exactly the same as himself. He was never afraid of danger. Since the opportunity was right in front of him, if he did not seize it, would Long Ming agree? However, Longao did not make a decision on his own. He still asked Long Ming. He told Long Ming about Bai Ling's general idea. After hearing it, Long Ming did not hesitate at all. He did not even think about it and said, Brother, no matter what happens, I'm willing to try. He was very satisfied. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you. Long Ming smiled, but did not say any more words of thanks. Between brothers, everything was in silence. Bai Ling, what should I do? Brother Long, now my sister and I will join forces to send you into the black stone tablet space. As for whether you can devour the weapon spirit, it will depend on you and Long Ming. Bai Ling was very worried. But Bai Ling also knew very well that Brother Long did not have powerful strength to protect himself. His own safety was always a problem. It was precisely because of this that after Bai Ling and Violet Spirit discussed, they were prepared to help Long Ao enter the space of the Black Stone Tablet. They hoped that Long Ming would be able to devour the artifact spirit. In that case, Long Ao's cultivation would also be greatly benefited. Bai Ling, don't worry about me. How could Long Ao not know about Bai Ling's worries? Bai Ling nodded and said nothing. Next, Bai Ling and Xiling worked together to send Long Ao into the Black Stone Tablet space. If it weren't for Bai Ling and Xiling, no one would have thought that there was an independent space inside the Black Stone Tablet. Moreover, the Black Stone Tablet was a treasure with a weapon spirit. Long Ao disappeared? Yifei was very surprised to see Long Ao suddenly disappear in front of the Black Stone Tablet. Long Ao, don't even think about using a trick. Yifei had full confidence in his own strength. He had been guarding this place without moving, so it was impossible for Long Ao to leave without making a sound. If the other party really had the strength, he would not have only dared to hide in front of the Black Stone Tablet. Just like that, Yifei was still sitting on the ground, not moving at all. As his strength soared from the God Emperor realm to the Nirvana realm, Yifei had already decided that he would rather not look for the so-called opportunity and use this opportunity to kill Long Ao. In the end, Yifei was very wary of Long Ao. There were too many variables. No one knew how much Long Ao could achieve in the future. If he reached the Nirvana realm, would he be able to fight against him? No confidence. In this case, Yifei had already decided that no matter what happened, he would kill Long Ao. He could not let Long Ao leave the ancient battlefield alive. Tianwu Continent. Yuan had just stepped into the Tianwu Continent and was preparing to look for Long Ao when she suddenly met someone. This person was none other than Yu Yin's master, Hades. Master. Looking at his disciple, Hades sighed deeply in his heart and said helplessly, Yu Yin, Master has let you down. However, I have no choice in the martial arts world. I hope you can understand Master's difficulties. Shameless. If Long Ao was here, he would definitely curse Hades. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Hades. Hades was shameless to the extreme. Yuan was not angry at all. She said indifferently, Master, Yuan will never forget the kindness you have shown me. However, Yuan will also not forget the harm you have done to Long Ao. From now on, I am no longer a disciple of the Martial Artists Alliance. Hades was not surprised at all. It was as if he had already expected this result. A master for a day is a father for life. No matter what, you will always be my master. Hades was moved. He sighed heavily. Master, I hope you will not harm Long Ao in the future. Yuan didn't continue with the unnecessary words. Even so, Hades's expression changed slightly. He could clearly sense the huge change in Yuan. Hades even had a feeling that if he continued to deal with Long Ao in the future, this disciple of his would most likely deal with him. If that really happened, what would he do? Would he really have to fight with Yuan? Hades valued his disciple very much. Otherwise, if Tong Tiandi wanted to deal with Yuan, Hades would not be so helpless. Yuan, did you come this time for Long Ao? Yuan did not hide anything. She knew very well that even if she did not say it, her master would have guessed it. Otherwise, her master would not have asked this question. Yuan, I know that you like Long Ao very much. However, Long Ao's current situation is besieged on all sides. Not only the Martial Artists Alliance, but even the Long family wants to kill Long Ao. If you insist on helping Long Ao, Hades did not continue speaking. However, the meaning of his words was very clear. Whether it was the Martial Artists Alliance or the Long family, they were all powerful forces in the Tianwu continent. There was no need to talk about their strength, not to mention provoking two superpowers at the same time. Even if they casually took out one of them, Long Ao would not be able to contend against them. Would Yuan care? If Yuan was really afraid, she would not have come this time. In Yu Yin's eyes, not to mention the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, even if all the other forces were against Long Ao, She would stand by Long Ao's side without hesitation. She would not change her mind even if she died. If you do not leave me, I will stay by your side in life and death. This was Yuan. Long Ao persevered for 10 years without giving up. In the end, he turned the tables. Yuan also persevered for 10 years. However, she persevered for 10 years for Long Ao. She even disregarded her figure and appearance. How many people in the continent could do this? It was impossible for Hades not to know this. It was because of this that Hades felt very helpless. Yuan, I know your character. Since that is the case, I only want to tell you one thing. Long Ao has already entered the ancient battlefield. He will not leave the ancient battlefield within a year. Chapter 1363. Primordial Battlefield? Long Ao entered the primordial battlefield? Yuan was a little confused after hearing her master's words. Right from the beginning, she did not know why Long Ao wanted to enter the primordial battlefield, or when he had entered. Master, is there any way to send me into the primordial battlefield? Yuan was well aware of what the primordial battlefield meant. The primordial battlefield was fraught with danger, and one would be consigned to eternal damnation if they were not careful. Upon hearing that Long Ao had already entered the primordial battlefield, Yuan could not wait to enter the primordial battlefield immediately so that they could live and die together. How could the underworld god not know what Yuan meant? Yuan, I know what you mean, but I can tell you clearly that no matter who it is, there is no way to enter the primordial battlefield. Yuan was worried and at a loss of what to do. Yuan, follow me. You have already sensed heaven and earth, but this is only the first realm of nirvana. The 5 realms of nirvana were respectively heaven and earth, unity of heaven and man, heavenly cycle multiplication, destiny, nirvana, and rebirth. Every increase in the 5 realms of nirvana was a qualitative leap. Yuan had already successfully sensed heaven and earth and reached the first realm of nirvana, but she was still a long way from the so-called nirvana and rebirth. But at this moment, Yuan was not in the mood to cultivate it all. Even if there was a rare opportunity in front of her, Yuan would not take it. Yuan was only concerned about one thing, and that was Long Ao's safety. Before the god of the underworld could finish his words, Master, realms are just fleeting clouds to me. In my heart, Long Ao is the most important person. Everything else is not important in front of me. I only hope that Long Ao is safe and sound. Otherwise, at this point, Yuan did not continue. Yuan's expression was unusually resolute. Yuan, Long Ao has entered the primordial battlefield. If nothing goes wrong, he will only come out in 10 months. In front of his disciple, Hades ultimately chose to compromise. Hades didn't want to make the same mistake a second time. Master was indeed wrong before, but Master will not make the same mistake a second time. Yuan, Master promises you that from now on, Master will not continue to deal with the Long Ao. Furthermore, Master will help the Long Ao in the future. Do you believe in Master? Do you believe it? Yuan knew her master's personality very well. She nodded and said with a smile, Master, your disciple believes that this is the last time. If there is a next time, you and I will break off our relationship and become strangers. He was somewhat moved. Hades nodded and said, Come with me. I hope that after Long Ao comes out of the primordial battlefield, your cultivation will be able to break through the union of heaven and man. "10 months was neither too long nor too short. Even if Yuan's talent was great, her body was special, and she had Hades' full support, it was almost impossible for Yuan to break through 2 realms in a short span of 10 months. Even if it was just one realm, it was still quite difficult. Even Hades did not have full confidence in comprehending the union of heaven and man. If it was before, Yuan would definitely not follow Hades. But now, Yuan was very clear that as long as her master did not deal with the Long Ao, she would not know what to do at this time. Since that was the case, she might as well cultivate with her master. The stronger she was, the more help she would be to the Long Ao. Master, I am willing. He was delighted. Then, the god of the underworld left with Yuan, and the two of them gradually disappeared. Tianwu Continent, Primordial Battlefield, Forbidden Area. Bai Ling and Xiling worked together to send Longao and Long Ming into the Black Stone Tablet space. Inside the Black Stone Tablet space, Longao and Long Ming calmly looked at their surroundings. It was a gray area. There were no rocks, no weeds, no mountains, no rivers. It was an empty gray space. It was especially strange. Big brother, what should we do now? Before entering the Black Stone Tablet space, Bai Ling and Xiling had already told Longao what to do. After thinking about it, Longao said, Long Ming, you have to remember, no matter what happens, don't act recklessly. Do you understand? The Black Stone Tablet space was full of danger. The slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. Long Ming naturally knew the danger. If he was not careful, not only his own life, but also his big brother's life would be in danger. Long Ming nodded and said very seriously, Big brother, don't worry. I won't act recklessly. I will listen to your arrangements. Longao was very assured about Long Ming. Follow me. Longao brought Long Ming and slowly walked forward. Their speed was not very fast because the man and the tiger did not know the situation inside the Black Stone Tablet space. Therefore, the two of them were very careful and focused 120% of their attention. It was better to be safe than sorry. According to Xiling and Bai Ling, the Black Stone Tablet strength had been forcibly suppressed. Otherwise, they would have died if they entered the Black Stone Tablet space. Longao was very surprised. Who exactly sealed the ancient battlefield? It was scary just thinking about it. There were dangers everywhere in the ancient battlefield. Not only were there Nirvana remnant souls, but there were also Nirvana mythical beasts. Especially in the ancient Forbidden Land, the Black Stone Tablet was definitely not simple. If that was the case, it was hard to imagine how powerful the person or force who sealed the ancient battlefield was. Although he knew very well that Bai Ling and Violet Spirit definitely knew the secret of the primordial battlefield, Longao did not ask because he knew that if the two of them wanted to tell him, they would tell him even if he did not ask. If the two of them did not want to tell him, he believed that the two of them would not tell him no matter how he asked. Chi-chi, chi-chi, chi-chi at this moment. Big brother, look. Longao nodded. Without needing Long Ming to say more, he saw a small snake that was not very long and not very thick appear in front of them. Could it be that the small snake was the Black Stone Tablet's weapon spirit? Xiling and Bai Ling did not say what the Black Stone Tablet's weapon spirit was. Who are you people? The small snake spoke in human language and looked very gloomy. Longao and Long Ming were very surprised. The man and the tiger were almost certain that the small grayish-black snake that suddenly appeared in front of them was the Black Stone Tablet's weapon spirit. Someone to deal with you. Deal with me? Ha ha ha, human, do you not know how to write the word death? As expected. Human, I want to know, how did you come in? The small grayish-black snake was the Black Stone Tablet's weapon spirit. Because of this, the snake spirit was very surprised because without its permission, no one could enter here. How we came in is none of your business. Longao's face was cold. Things had already come to this point. No matter what, he could not back down. Otherwise, not to mention devouring the weapon spirit, he did not even know if he could leave alive. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.